Welcome back, everyone, to another installment of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff,
I'm Ron.
and this shit's gonna get weird because this movie's fucking weird. It's so weird. I can't wait to talk about it. You want to know some fucking Jeff catnip anthology movies, bro? Always love me some anthology movies.
Southbound was a fucking win in the Jeff column. I'm still deliberating Buster Scruggs.
As you should. That means Buster Scruggs did its fucking job. Yeah. But that's the thing, is maybe you don't like one of them, but they have multiple in the pipeline. You never know.
I definitely have a favorite, and I've got some new quotes that I'm going to be using in my streams.
Pan shot. How? Tell me you didn't want to just immediately go fucking play PUBG as soon as that scene happened, because I know I wanted to.
That's exactly what I wanted to do.
Fucking mesmerizingly good. It's just chef's kiss of a thing, and the fact that it's Stephen Root makes it even fucking better. But yeah, spoilers for Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Bobby, getting that out of the way. Weird now, like we did like 2 episodes with questions, and now I don't know how to start the show because I got used to doing Q&As first. So people, email us screenplayrewind@gmail.com. Email us questions; those are always fun. I was just telling Ron before we started recording, I went back and listened to our last Q&A section. Don't remember any of the shit I said. It was basically a Q&A experience for me as well. I was like, I don't remember saying that.
Even back in the day on our There Will Be Expletives, as soon as the recording stops, I'm just like, I have no idea what happened the last hour.
Is that how you are with your streams? Like
a lot of the time, yeah.
Is it just random conscious thought as it's happening?
So the good thing about a super small Twitch community is you get a lot of interaction from the people that show up, and the people that show up are a lot of the same people, so you really get to know them. But a lot of the bad stuff is if those people are doing something else while your stream is on, you're just vamping the entire time.
Yeah.
So I do so much vamping that half the time I don't even know what I said. Like, people keep adding quotes, and when they recall the quotes, I'm like, I do not remember what that is in reference to or anything, but it sounds awful.
The quotes in your catalog on your channel are even more bizarre and fucked up than Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I'm like, who the fuck uttered that? They're so out there and weird. Like, I immediately think, did I say this?
Someone tried to attribute something to me when I said it the other day, and it was actually a Bloodborne quote. And I was like, nope, that one's not me.
Yeah.
I said it, but it wasn't me.
Gotta give it all from congrats to them on 10 years of Dark Souls,
dude,
by the way. That's fucking, I mean, first of all, fuck me because I'm old as fuck, but that's a cool milestone. And just crazy that that game is now a decade old.
And it started an entire cottage industry.
Yeah.
That has been going for 10 years.
And might have doomed video games for 30 years beyond it. Because Dark Souls is great. Some of the things Dark Souls has done to video games, not so great.
Get good,
that is a topic. Yeah, let's just talk about, fuck the movie. Let's talk about Dark Souls for an hour. Yeah.
This is our
we
podcast.
got Bloodborne in. We got Bloodborne in there. That little Dark Souls. That's two shots in the Bobby drinking game. Bobby will be dead by the end of this, because I'll find a way to shoehorn in all of the drinking game. Screenplay Rewind bingo. See how it goes.
The free space is just an Estus flask. No, it's a bonfire. The free space is a bonfire.
Indeed. We got spoilers out of the way. Spoilers for Ballad of Buster Scruggs. This is I believe, Netflix original, so I believe it's only accessible there unless I imagine they have it purchasable on Blu-ray and shit, just because they can make extra money doing that. But I have not fact checked that myself. But you can definitely watch it on Netflix.
Sorry. This seems like something that Netflix would have bought, right? Like, they didn't go out and say, hey, make this movie like they do with some of them. This is one that they probably purchased.
Yeah, this is probably one.
With it being the Coen brothers and all, I figured it was probably one that they purchased. I don't actually know that.
It was probably one that they purchased because it's one of those things, especially because of just how weird the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine this is an easier sell to a Netflix type streaming platform. You know, that this would be a hard sell to go into like a theatrical run, just because, I mean, everyone loves the Coen brothers, but it is a weird fucking movie, and it's a Western, and Westerns aren't, you know, in vogue at all anymore, really. They're barely any made. And it being anthology is always a hard sell for theatrical releases. Like, I can't even remember the last time there was a successful anthology film in theaters. Can you? It just never really happens like that anymore.
Yeah, these are the ones I run across. Like, I miss them if they did go to theaters. Like, I found them years later, or they just go straight to streaming, it seems like.
Like a Lovecraftian horror anthology called Southbound existed, and I didn't know about it for like 3 fucking years. That's telling you something. I am so mad at myself. I could have had that movie in my life so long ago. But hey, it was kind of fun to inadvertently kind of discover it, you know, with the podcast. It's pretty cool.
So what I'm seeing on the Wikipedia page is that the Coens basically took this movie and kind of went to Netflix with it, more or less, because basically Hollywood at the time was only interested in either something that was already established or Marvel. So they presented it to Netflix, and even though they presented it to Netflix and Netflix was interested, they were kind of, I don't know that I want to do this about it. It says,
the only two people that can get original IP made right now are pretty much Rian Johnson and Edgar Wright, and Christopher Nolan. But yeah,
so there it is. I did my due diligence live on the air.
There you go. The only due diligence that will the only due diligence that will ever happen is we do it live. Fuck it.
Okay, so we can't start talking about this movie until you start singing at least one of Buster Scruggs' songs, right? You're gonna do it?
I didn't agree to this. This will be the curtain call for Screenplay Rewind. Screenplay eject. It's done.
That's our after dark version of this podcast.
Screenplay eject. We're gonna hire the fucking Duke Nukem voice actor just to say the eject.
He's probably got a cameo.
Yeah. Oh, and just really quickly, we should probably say when we cover anthologies, we have to kind of go old school SPR approach of actually kind of breaking down the plots a little bit. Otherwise, it's impossible to talk about because you have to kind of talk about them a chunk at a time. Just like we did with Southbound, we'll be doing these in the order they are presented in the film. I believe there are 6 vignettes. Yeah, 6 tales of life and violence in the Old West. And yeah, let's get started. Let's talk about the first one. It opens up with Tulsa, Oklahoma's own Tim Blake Nelson.
Are you probably my?
Yeah, he's. I found that out while poking around the IMDb. Tim Blake Nelson, born in Tulsa. Pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Huh.
Always liked Tim Blake Nelson. Did you watch HBO Watchmen?
No,
yet?
Not yet.
He's one of the detectives in it. He's fucking awesome in that show, dude. I'm kind of glad that Tim Blake Nelson is getting a little bit of cred, you know, over the last few years. Because he actually got a Critics' Choice award nomination or something like that for Watchmen. It's like, okay, fuck yeah, dude.
He's one of those guys that for some reason I just always forget about him until I see him in something, and I'm like, oh fuck yes.
It's funny. Well, we talked about him earlier. It's the same with Stephen Root. Like, Stephen Root is incredibly talented, but basically everyone just thinks of him as Milton from Office Space. I mean, that's his most iconic role, but
not
if
anymore.
You ever watch
I've got 2 roles I think of him as.
If you ever watch him in if you remember even in Get Out, he can be he can be jovial, he can be goofy, he can be fucking sinister though. I've seen him in some role. He had a very dark role in what was the name of the movie? I just watched it. I think it was The Thin Man. It was some obscure horror movie I watched a few weeks ago, but he had like a bit role in it. And yeah, I was just genuinely like, I'm always impressed by those character actors that, like, when they show up on set, it don't matter what the movie is, they're going all the fuck out, pan shots be damned, you know. It's going for it. And Tim Blake Nelson is one of those. Tim Blake Nelson is fucking going for it in this opening, dude. So when this opens up and it's just Tim Blake Nelson on his horse just singing through the fucking like western mountainsides,
dying of thirst.
What did you think this was going to be the entirety of the movie?
I was like, Geoff, what the fuck have you gotten me into?
It's so weird, and I love that the Coen brothers open the fucking movie up with this shit. It's so fucking bonkers. It's so... And one of the things I actually genuinely love about this anthology is how drastically different some of them are.
Yes.
Some of them are lighthearted. Some of them, have funny scenes. Some of them make you want to just like fucking the Liam Neeson one, dude.
I wanted to crawl into a hole.
The Liam Neeson one makes your fucking skin crawl at times. It's so hard to watch. And I kind of dig that. And I feel like they intentionally open up the movie with this. Not only because it's the title of the film, but also just to establish, like, we're gonna be doing some weird shit in here.
The thing that was weird to me is, why is this one what the film is titled after? This is like the one that is completely different from all the rest of them. Like, some of them are weird, some of them are strange, but this one is so far left field compared to the other five.
It really is.
And for it to be the title, because at that point, if I know this is the title and I'm watching this, that is setting a tone for the entire movie, for all six of them to me. So it was really jarring when we started moving into the other ones. I'm like, what is going on? Because, like, Southbound, the through line, it had a through line. Not all anthologies have a through line, but that's why Southbound is called Southbound, right? I get this one doesn't really have a through line, but it just seemed like it was an odd choice to title it after the first one. I mean, it's a good title. It's a good title.
I literally think it is only titled this because they like the title.
That sounds like a Ron and Geoff move if I've ever heard one. Why are you calling it that? I don't know. Sounds cool. It doesn't make any sense. Sounds cool.
Well, honestly, like, it's not us, because they probably came up with that title in 2 seconds, and we agonize over titles for everything for fucking months. How many fucking start from scratch efforts did Screenplay Rewind take? And it's just like a basic fucking combination of words. It took us like how many weeks to figure that out? It's sad. We're very bad at.
We had a false start on it too, because there was another podcast already named that hasn't been active in like 6 years or something.
Yeah. We had another name. I like this name better, so it was like a happy accident.
I was gonna say, no matter what anyone says, I still think you knocked the name of this podcast out of the park.
I appreciate it.
I think it's a really good name.
I appreciate
nothing else about it, but the name.
Everything else is shit, but the title's good.
The name and the graphic I both really like.
Thank you. Thank you. Shout out to random guy on Fiverr, who I tipped him. He got paid. He's fine.
He got his meal ticket.
Fine. Yeah. Oh no. Well played, sir. Well played. Okay, so yeah,
all
Ballad
gold
of
in
Buster
this
Scruggs.
canyon.
Okay, so the basic kind of plot of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs is it's this very, very bizarre. I can't even describe it. It's such a very specific tone, and it's not a callback because no westerns have ever been like this. It's so singular, and it's so fucking Coen brothers. That's probably the other reason this is the most off the fucking wall, because like the Coen brothers have made some weird shit. Think of some of the dream sequences in Lebowski, dude. Like, they've done some real weird shit. So this is probably the most Coen brothers-esque weirdness they get. That's another reason they could have opened up with this, just because they love that shit.
I want someone to break this down into 6 individual episodes that all are on sale for, I don't know, $3 or $5 each, and the blurb on Ballad of Buster Scruggs needs to be, no Western has ever been like this. That was amazing.
You'll buy your whole seat, but you only need the edge.
Oh my god.
So yeah, Tim Blake Nelson, as we talked about earlier, he's playing Buster Scruggs. He's constantly singing. I actually love the way he's acting, because he's acting as this just totally self-assured, biggest dick in the room alpha male walking around, but he's not like,
but at the same time,
dickish about it. He's very kind of like lighthearted about how much of an alpha he is. It's a weird character.
Yeah, and at the same time though, he's doing it as if he's like faking it until he makes it, but he's not.
Yeah,
he's not faking it, but he's acting like he is. It's really strange.
He's constantly breaking the fourth wall to talk to the viewer, and I actually really like the scene when he first walks in the little saloon where he like shakes the dust off, and it's an outline of Tim Blake Nelson as he walks away. It's a Looney Tunes cartoon.
This whole thing is Looney Tunes.
It's more of a fucking like Looney Tunes like Roadrunner episode than a fucking Western. It's so weird.
Yosemite Sam could have shown up at any time, and I would not have been surprised.
Played by Clancy Brown.
Oh, we'll get to Clancy Brown.
Okay. The way that he kills / makes Clancy Brown commit suicide is worth the entire runtime of watching this film. The first time that happens, it's so jarring. I laughed my ass off because I was not expecting it at all. He does it like not once, but like 3 fucking times.
Dude, that first time. Okay, so that first time he does it, like they knew the audience reaction, because the first time he does it and it happens, there's a long pause, and then he does it like 3 more times in a row.
Oh my, dude, it's so good.
And on that first
so
one,
good.
I shot straight up and down on the couch, like, wait, what just happened? And as soon as I finished asking that question, he answered by doing it 3 more times in quick succession.
All with a smile on his face. Okay, so again, because this scene you should at the very least YouTube Ballad of Buster Scruggs. This is probably the first thing that shows up is the scene. So again, spoilers. Please watch this. At least look up Buster Scruggs like poker game scene, something like that on YouTube to find this. Okay, so what he does is he walks into a it's like a little gambling joint. Did you YouTube it?
You called it. You totally called it. All I did was type in Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and the very first thing that comes up is Clancy Brown. 2.5 minutes.
Goddamn right. Yeah, watch that and then come back.
Oh
watch
my
that and
God.
come back. Okay, so what he does is after he goes into the gambling little saloon thing to start playing some poker because he loves himself some poker, is he gets into an argument with Clancy Brown. And if you Google Clancy Brown, you'll know what we're talking about. If you're not familiar with his name, he's fucking voice of Mr. Krabs. He's been in a million things.
You should be familiar with his name.
I fucking adore that man. I love Clancy Brown. He's very close to the SPR Rushmore. As we have.
I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of Clancy Brown, but isn't he by all accounts basically like the world's biggest teddy bear, and then he always plays a dick in everything, and he's so good at it.
I mean, like, the way that he plays the villain at Highlander, and you're just like, God damn, that's Mr. fucking Krabs, dude. It's so weird. I love Clancy Brown. He's the best.
Isn't he also Lex Luthor in Justice League?
Yes, in the cartoon, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying he's not the one that uses the Jolly Ranchers? Is that correct?
Could you imagine if they had Clancy Brown being the version of Lex from the cartoon? That instantly makes that movie better.
No, I just instantly thought of Clancy Brown shoving Jolly Ranchers into a guy's mouth, and that also instantly makes the movie better. So I am all aboard this idea.
Know, that one turns me on a little bit. That one,
that's
the other guy. No.
And I also just imagine him doing the Jolly Rancher scene while in the costume of his Highlander villain, and I'm also on board with this. So what he does to make Clancy Brown kill himself, because Clancy Brown yells at him because he says, "Hey, you joined the poker game." He anteed in. You have to play the hand. And Tim Blake Nelson as Buster Scruggs is like, "Fuck that. Those aren't the rules." At one point,
they offered him he can play with those cards, and then he looks at the cards, and they're like, no, you've looked at the cards, now you have to play them.
And he notices it's the dead man's hand. It's the what is it? Bill Hickok? Is that the dead man's hand guy? Oh god, he was a character in Deadwood. And it's like a real character that dead man's hand comes from with the. What is it? Aces, eights, and they're all the black cards, I think.
I'm not familiar.
But yeah, it's a dead man's hand. It's very, very famous poker hand. Wild Bill Hickok, yeah. So he has this whole argument, Clancy Brown draws a gun. The saloon's only rule really is you have to check in your guns at the front door. And Clancy Brown has obviously not done this because he just fucking instantly draws on Buster Scruggs. So to defend himself, he kicks one of the boards that lines across the table to hit Clancy Brown's elbow and then shoot the gun back up towards his face and then shoot himself in the head. He does it multiple times. And it's such a jarring edit and it's such a cool angle because they're doing regular camera shots on each of their faces as they're going back and forth, they're talking, but then they do a wide shot from the side. And it's just... It's perfect, dude.
I think the first one is from behind Buster Scruggs, and then it cuts to this wide shot where he does it 3 more times.
Yeah. Because I was watching this, not knowing what to expect, and then when it was singing, I was like, I don't know about this, and then this scene happens, I'm like, I'm in, whatever the fuck, I'm down, dude. You have sold me, Mr. Coen Brothers.
What made you seek this out? The fact that it's the Coens?
It's the Coens and the cast. The cast is a lot of.
Oh my god, the cast is
people.
Insane. And speaking of the cast, when I first saw the gun, he's credited as Gun Check Man. Thomas Wingate. I swear to God, I thought that was William H. Macy for no reason.
Kind of looks like him.
Just standing there taking people's guns.
Anyone who isn't a super famous actor in this is a very, very famous character actor. They didn't fuck around with the casting in this because every single person wants to work with the Coens. Did you ever hear about the fucking Garfield story about how Bill Murray got associated with that? Have you ever heard this story?
No.
Oh man, it's hilarious and also depressing as fuck. Let me look up the exact name of the writer. No. So Bill Murray gets sent details for the Garfield movie, right?
Like the cat?
Yes.
Okay.
So Bill Murray sees the animated Garfield movie from 2004. Well, he's animated, but it's mixed live action, whatever the fuck. Written by Joel Coen. Bill Murray thought the Garfield movie was a Coen Brothers joint and joined the production because he thought he was going to work with the Coen Brothers.
Nice.
He did not. It is Joel Coen. That's where he makes me laugh every time. Could you imagine? Oh man. I mean, he got paid a shit ton to probably do fucking voice recording for 6 hours, but still, it's funny as fuck because Bill Murray became Garfield because of an accident.
Oh, he's actually Garfield?
Bill Murray? Yeah, he's the voice of Garfield.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't even know this movie existed.
Oh, you didn't know the Garfield movies existed?
I had no idea that movie existed.
Oh, yeah, they're terrible. At least the first one was. Yeah, they're terrible.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, don't. Just don't.
Just don't.
Just don't.
I'd rather shoot myself in the head with a table.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Real quick, one of the notes that I just had to write down, and I swear to God, I was like, God damn it, movie, right after I wrote it down. Listening to the fake horse hoof clops in the opening when he's walking, it sounds like the horse is on cobblestones, but he's in the desert.
Yeah,
but it's so going to the beat of the song. And I wrote down, I was like, okay, I have to admit the fake horse hoof clops are kind of amazing. And as soon as I finished writing down fake horse hoof clops, he literally calls out the horse hoof clops himself to the audience. And I was just like, oh my God. And then the fact that that same song about needing water and it's got the horse hoof stuff and everything, his echo is his backup singer.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
It's
It's so,
next level bonkers, dude.
like, it seems
it's
so stupid, but the more you think about it, the more genius it gets.
It's one of those things too where it's like, even if you are horribly turned off by just how weird this opening is, you're captivated by it.
Yeah.
It's a fucking train wreck. You cannot fucking turn away. And as soon as the Clancy Brown scene happens, I'm like, this is my favorite movie that's ever happened.
Avengers what?
Yeah.
Avengers Scruggs?
Avengers Scruggs. I would watch that. His fucking dust outline is one of the Avengers.
They need to replace what's the cowboy from Justice League Unlimited?
Oh God. Vigilante.
That's him. They need to replace Vigilante with Buster Scruggs. Yeah. Someone deep fake this now.
Please. Someone way more talented than us, please contribute to society. This is, again, you literally can't speak about this opening vignette. You just have to watch it, because it's just all, and it's just like, dude, the fucking charisma that Tim Blake Nelson has in this is outstanding. Because I mean, every time he's singing, I think it's actually him singing too, because it sounds like him. I didn't know
him,
some of it's probably, an ADR version of it, but I think it's him. It sounds like Tim Blake Nelson. So yeah, some of their we have to talk. Okay, so the way that they wrap up the opening with Buster Scruggs is, he thinks he's hot shit, because he is. He can casually fucking go shoot him up Clive Owen style and just eliminate like 20 targets at once without even trying. He shoots one dude. When he's shooting the fingers off one at a time, it's pretty crazy.
Oh my God.
And then they.
Sorry, I don't know if you could hear me, but I just started laughing to myself while you were talking, because I was looking at the Wikipedia to see if it mentions if it's actually him singing or if it's ADR or what. And I caught the song title Surly Joe, which was the song about Clancy Brown killing himself.
The lyrics in that are incredible. Holy fuck. Like, when that scene happens and he's singing that song, turn on the subtitles, because just chef's kiss all around.
I just might find it on iTunes. I don't know.
It's pretty good.
Oh my God.
It's pretty fucking good.
Surly
so
Joe.
He goes out into a shootout, because what kind of props this ending thing is, the guy that he shoots all his fingers off is the brother of Clancy Brown. He's coming in to get revenge. Buster Scruggs just immediately just destroys him, ends up doing the fucking kill shot, looking at a mirror with his back turned towards him, and he's like doing like mental gymnastics of
let's
now
see.
in the reflection,
backwards, so
trying to figure out where he needs to aim to shoot him in the heart, and then he just fucking one taps him, through the ball, looking through the mirror, and it's crazy. But you can't stay hot shit forever, because another bounty hunter rolls in to kind of challenge him, and he asks him he asks Buster Scruggs, do you need to count? He's like, no, and he just draws and fucking shoots him. And then
that ain't good.
Dude. The camera angles as he looks at his hat with the bullet hole is really cool, actually.
Yeah, because you're looking through his eyes. It's first person.
It's really well shot, and they ended. It gets even fucking weirder, because not only does he die and become an angel, he has these little bitty fucking cherub wings as he's playing a harp and singing along with the kid. And you just can't make this shit up. Like, watch this on YouTube, please. It's so weird. You have to see it.
It's an almost intentionally bad CGI harp, too. Like, there's no reason it needed to look as bad as it did, unless they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
The name of the song, if you want to see it on YouTube, the name of the song is When a Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings.
Yeah, it actually got an Academy Award.
Did it really?
For Best Achievement in Music Written for Motion Pictures Original Song.
Best Achievement in Music! What?
They should have won Best Picture for the Clancy Brown scene, so we'll take this as a consolation prize.
Quote Ridley Scott, comedy?
Oh God!
Best achievement in music.
Is The Martian getting nominated for that? the dumbest thing the Oscars ever. They've done a lot of stupid shit. That might be the dumbest. Like, he almost died cooking potatoes on Mars. Fucking nerd.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
Why don't you tape up your glasses while you're at it? Yeah.
Oh god, so dumb.
Ooh, excuse me, Wikipedia. It's not a harp, it's a lyre.
Oh.
Ugh, excuse me.
Okay.
They specifically point out that it's a lyre, and of course the lyre links to liars on fucking Wikipedia.
Of course.
Yep.
So they get you.
So Willie Watson plays the kid. Am I seeing this correctly? That this is basically like the one thing he's done?
Did he look familiar to you?
He looked super familiar to me.
I did the same thing. I thought 1000%. I've seen this dude in something, but I looked through and I don't recognize any of, like, it's only been like very, very minor roles, but I guess he just has one of those. You know who he kind of looks like? He looks kind of almost like a young Val Kilmer. Maybe that's what I'm
Maybe
getting.
that's what it is. Because with that mustache that he has in the movie, he could very much be a Val Kilmer double.
Like, if they ever make a movie where they need to cast a younger version of like a modern day Val Kilmer, cast that dude. Because now that I think about it, it's fucking perfect. Like, he looks just like that dude. Yeah. So, any other closing thoughts on the Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
No, I think that about does it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue on. That is the first vignette down. We need to kind of speed this up. We're going to be for fucking 3 hours. This is exactly what happened with Southbound. You get me and Ron talking about an anthology, and we'll sit here for 4 hours just talking about it. It's so fun to talk about to me.
Well,
I don't know what it is about it.
The thing is, the next 5 are fairly straightforward. But the first one is a fucking Looney Tune. It's a musical. It's a Western. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
I think I like it, but I don't know what's happening.
I was taken aback the first time I saw it, but the more I think about it,
the more genius
the more
it
I like
gets.
it. The more genius it becomes, and seriously, read the lyrics to the fucking Surly Joe song. It's amazing.
I'm gonna look it up as soon as we're done recording. I think, and just to listen to it again.
It's wonderful. So the next segment opens up. Oh, we didn't mention they have a little kind, like, the through line is that these are all tales that they're actually presenting from like a novel, and they have these really cool really cool paintings, of like depictions of certain elements or scenes from what's going to happen in the story that are very cool. I really like, and they also
it's usually a moment from the story with a quote at the bottom. The one for the first one is fucking Clancy Brown telling him to play the cards. Mm-hmm. Oh my god! What's
also super cool too is they actually took the time to write out like a novel adaptation of at least certain segments you see, because you can actually, if you pause, you can go and read further details of the stories that are on like the final pages as they're turning, or at the beginning when they're opening the page to begin the story. Super cool, because I actually took the time to kind of like, especially the meal ticket one, because they actually talk a little bit more about the ending of the meal ticket one if you stop to read it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I recommend doing that. So the second story is called Near Agadones.
And this is my favorite one.
This was your favorite one? It's very good. It's very good. So this stars an unnamed character played by James Franco as he is about to rob a bank in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's not even like a bank that's part of, it's really funny. It's not even part of a town. It's in the middle of a fucking field.
In the middle of the desert.
Yeah. I love it so much.
Oh,
I love it. So he's kind of scoping out the place, and as he sees the bank in the middle of nowhere, he's like, shit, this is gonna be easy to rob. And boy, is he mistaken.
I got the intention that this is like his first time, though, isn't it?
It's hard to say, and I think it's intentional because
he looks nervous
as he's running away. Well, I'd be nervous too if I encountered fucking Stephen Root covered in pants shot, and the fact that he can disappear like he's the goddamn Batman. He's still legit. I would be pissing my pants too, dude.
Yeah. When he walks into the doors and it's just that long lobby that's just empty, and fucking Milton is sitting at the end of it. I said out loud, Milton? Oh,
he's so good in this too.
He's so good.
He doesn't get very much screen time, but good God, he's
he
incredible.
Owns this whole thing, and he's only in the beginning of it.
I love how when James Franco pulls the gun on him, that he acts frightened.
Yes.
Because you know as soon as what's about to happen, he ain't scared of shit.
I gotta get the large bills. They're down below.
Oh, God,
with
it's
my
so
red
good.
stapler.
Set the building on fire.
I just needed a water heater in the background. That's all I needed. Oh my God, dude. When that first shotgun blast comes through the front of the counter.
It's good.
And then it's just 1, 2, 3. And then when Franco jumps over the counter eventually, because it's got like bars and stuff, he has to climb to get over it. There's like 5 shotguns mounted to boxes just sitting behind the counter at even intervals.
Yeah.
And before this happens, doesn't Stephen Root just talk about all the times people have robbed him in the past? Like before James Franco pulls the gun on him?
He specifically talks about how at one point someone tried to rob him and he kind of like citizen arrested him and held him inside the vault for like 2 weeks. That's one thing that he talks about. So that's your first clue. This shit's about to go very, very wrong for Mr. Franco.
Oh my God.
So James Franco escapes the initial onslaught of the fucking shotgun blast as Stephen Root is the fucking equalizer in the bank. Oh my God. I love it. He runs outside, and this is where he is in, because I think James Franco is actually competent. It's just the fact that he was so caught off guard and by how much of a fucking like crazy psychopath Stephen Root is. Because he's very calm about the robbery at the beginning. Like, he's not nervous as he's pulling the gun. He becomes nervous as Stephen Root goes level 500 PUBG player on him in a minute.
When Sweat Lord Stephen Root comes out.
So James Franco runs outside the bank and then kind of hides. And he hears the dangling of pans and pots. And he's like, what the fuck is that? And you just hear Stephen Root screaming and yelling as he's running across the field covered in pans as James Franco starts shooting at him.
He's just in what's that undergarment with the butt flap that cowboys wear underneath all their clothes?
Thermals? Like the thermal, yeah,
he's just got that with pots all over it. But before that, he was just fucking sniper on the roof. You didn't know where the shots were coming from.
Yeah. It was
terrifying.
Yeah, he's the Batman. Dude.
He's the fucking he's the what's the Flash story where he goes back in time and fucks everything up?
Oh, Thomas Wayne Batman.
Yeah, he's the Thomas Wayne Batman from Flashpoint Paradox. There we go.
Yeah,
he's the Thomas Wayne Batman because he's using guns. Dude, holy shit, man.
Yeah, as he's running across the field after Franco, and Franco shoots at him a few times and only connects in the pots, Stephen Root takes the time to yell out,
"Pan shot!
Pan shot!" and dude, I thought I couldn't love Stephen Root anymore, and then this movie happened. I was like, I am mistaken.
It's the way he does it though. When he yells it, he sounds like a fucking parrot who heard someone yell that playing PUBG.
He's so maniacal.
Every
my God, it's amazing.
He gets shot, you just hear this ting, pin shot, like over and over. And like Franco just starts freaking out and emptying his gun, but he just keeps connecting to nothing but pans, and he's just pan shot.
Woo,
oh
dude!
My God, he's the fucking Terminator, but he's covered in pots and pans.
I gotta watch this movie again. Just talking about it makes me want to go watch it again because it's so fucking funny, and it was all hilarious all over again the second time too, if not funnier, because like you pick up on like very little details, because the Coen brothers are perfectionists and just fucking weirdos. So there's probably a fucking, if you go back into the bank and like enhance, you probably find like a red stapler over on the fucking bank desk near Milton. Yeah, I don't fucking know.
Probably
You'll
like
find
a Flash action
crazy
figure or statue or something somewhere.
Yeah, all kinds of shit. So Stephen Root, after taking the 5 or 6 pan shots, knocks out James Franco, and James Franco wakes up.
As you do.
He wakes up about to be hanged, having been unconscious for the entirety of his trial, apparently. And they sentenced him to death. Ralph Ineson.
I was going to say, dude, fucking Ralph Ineson.
Ralph Ineson has maybe the coolest voice any human has ever had. Like, he always just sounds so fucking... And if you need a guy to be in your movie for, like, 2 minutes and just make you, like, fucking terrified of that fucking voice, you hire Ralph Ineson. Because, like, I think they used him pretty well in... wasn't he in Game of Thrones as well?
I believe so.
I believe he was.
Yes,
too.
Game of
he
Thrones. Dagmar Cleftjaw.
That's a name.
That means a thing.
Probably a bunch of Y's. Game of Thrones.
So the interesting thing about Ralph Ineson, and I just don't know how you do this, but it's the way he's talking to James Franco, because he's like 95% couldn't give two shits about what is happening or what's about to happen to James Franco. It's just he's bothered that he had to stop what he's doing to be out here to hang a guy. And the other 5% of his voice tone is like genuinely feeling sad for James Franco at the same time. Like the way he's looking at him and the way he's talking, it's like a 90-10 or 95-5 split on, oh my God, why am I here? Oh, but yeah, it's too bad what's about to happen to you kind of thing. Is this the way he's talking to him grabbed me instantly, because I was like, dude, he really sounds like he can't make up his mind how much he cares about this.
And that's another thing too, is when you're making something like this, and it's very similar to 1917. If you're gonna have characters that are very pivotal in a small amount of screen time, you have to get these kind of actors. Because how long did we talk about Stephen Root? Stephen Root's in the movie for like 10 fucking seconds.
Yeah,
but he's just so awesome. Pan shot. And Tim Blake Nelson, he's only in the movie for like 15 minutes, but it's a very lasting performance until he gets shot. But it's a very lasting performance. Yeah.
Well, that ain't good.
That ain't good.
Okay, we got to talk about what happens next, dude.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, my notes are that this should have been titled James Franco's Bad Day.
Yeah, no fucking joke.
This is like the way I would die in the Wild West. Could have the worst day anyone could ever have in the Wild West. It's just ridiculous. But one of my favorite lines I think I've ever heard comes up near the end of it. We'll get there.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Because it's maybe the best line in the entirety of the film.
And it's the way he says it too.
First time. Yeah. That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. That's probably my favorite scene of the movie. And then, it's just the way he delivers it is so good.
Well, and then it also, I loved it for that. Is it's so good and the way he delivers it, and it's perfect. Isn't that the last thing he says even? So like in the thing, so like it's perfect. It's a perfect bookend and everything.
It's not the last thing he says. I think he says, "Oh, that's a pretty girl," because he comments on the girl that he sees in the crowd. But so the thing is though, as soon as I heard that line, I immediately flashed back to that the first South Park game when you get taken by the aliens to get probed anally, and you just hear from off screen, "First time," and then it pans over to Randy right next to you. Oh man,
first time.
It's so good. So they're gonna hang him, and he's on the back of a horse because they're giving him his kind of like his last word. And I really like how Innocent's two guys are trying to like barter on who can have his horse, and then James Franco's just like, I don't want either of them to have my horse. They're just like, that's fucked up, man. They're just,
selfish
they're offended.
bastard.
They're offended that he won't donate his horse to one of them.
Well, son, can one of them have your horse? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I don't really want either one of them to have my horse. Selfish prick.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
And as soon as they're about to hang him, they get attacked by this huge fucking swarm of, I believe they say they're it's I believe they say they're Comanche kind of like hunting squad, and they just get fucking slaughtered. And the entire time, James Franco is on the back of the horse with his neck in the fucking noose, just like trying to not like panic, because if he panics, the horse goes away. You know, the horse is already starting to freak out because of all the fucking gunshots and shit.
And then
I really like
chief.
how the chief
what a dick.
The chief has this golden opportunity to just fucking kill him, and he sees the predicament he's in and just fucking smiles and rides away with the rest of the party.
He like
dude.
screams and scares him too at the same time.
Yeah. It's fucked up.
Yeah, it's really fucked up, dude. And
yeah.
Like, what is worse? Just coming to and finding yourself with a noose around your neck, or what happens next where he's out there for hours as the horse is inching forward, finding grass to eat, and he's trying, all he has is the stirrups, trying to keep the horse from walking too far away or he'll hang. Dude, that's not even enough of a drop to break your neck. That's not even enough of a drop.
He'd be going out the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and what's crazy too is like we've talked about, like, you know, like this is intense as fuck as he's trying to, you know, stay on the horse as it's inching forward. It's very tense. 5 minutes after, pan shot. So like this movie, it's really cool to me how they're able to kind of balance a lot of the tone, because you know, parts of it are very dark, parts of it are very funny, parts of it are Buster Scruggs, you know. But the especially like some of the later segments, you know, like they balance a lot of the, you know, the tone of it, where it could very easily just become very, very stupid, but it never loses me, you know. And a lot of it is because they're very, very good about who they pick to play a lot of these characters, because, you know, whether it be, you know, charismatic leads or, you know, casting people atypically, like the Liam Neeson selection is very interesting. The way that you see his character, you know, is portrayed and plays out.
Right.
It's just it grabs you in a lot of different ways, and I think it's a very, very interesting movie. You know, even if not everything works for you, and it won't, and that's almost the point in an anthology. It's because with an anthology, because there's no stakes to it, because it doesn't work. It's a series of short stories, and in short stories you can do anything. You know, that you have no rules. It's only what your imagination can come up with, because, you know, you're not obeying, you know, 3-act structure and character arcs. You know, you can have stuff that just doesn't make sense or is just very, very fine-tuned.
Well, when you're free of having to do the heavy lifting of, you know, the setting and the plot development and stringing everything together into being one cohesive story, like all that stuff is lifted. You ain't got time for that shit, you know, in a short story. No. You just got to get to the meat and get gone. Cut to the chase, as they say.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a guy finds poor fucking James Franco. How funny is it when he shows up? He's like, hold still, when he's trying to shoot down the noose.
And every gunshot, the horse is freaking out more.
Yeah, he goes out of his way to be a badass and try to shoot the fucking rope instead of just going to cut the fucking rope down, sending the horse flying, and James Franco is swinging erratically, choking to death for about 10 seconds as he misses like 3 or 4 shots trying to hit it. He's like, God damn it, stay still. And he gets in this whole conversation with this quote unquote, you know, this he's a rancher, you know, steering the cows around, right? I don't know what their title is, but
I think it's a drover. Because I think
something like that. I think
droving is when you actually drive the cattle, but it turns out that's not what he is.
Yeah, because what is he, Ron?
He is a rustler.
Yeah,
that word I know for a fact.
So.
Oh my God,
poor James Franco, dude. It's so sad.
Oh my God, when you see the other posse riding at them from a distance, and it cuts back to James Franco and he's by himself, and there's just the dudes in the background riding away at full speed.
Yeah, it is really funny because that is on the heels of him just having talked about, maybe we can have a partnership, you know, we'll have a whole thing, it's gonna be great. And then he sees the posse road and just fucking cheeses it, man.
He's going on like fucking Bubba going on about shrimp. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah. And then he just, okay, that's where they needed the fucking cartoon smoke outline of the dude. Because when James Franco, it cuts back to him, he's just by himself with no one next to him. But it's the same shot that was lined up. So James Franco was on the left and the dude was on the right. But when it cuts back, it's just James Franco on the left.
Yes. And then they hard cut to James Franco being sentenced again for rustling up all of the goddamn cows. And he is sentenced to death again. Oh,
this is so dark. Why is this so funny?
It's so good. It's so good. And then the sentencing is very funny too. The way that they present, they're like telling him like to shut the fuck up while we're sentencing you. And one of the guys that caught him just does this like 8-second rundown of him seeing him with the fucking cows and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, well, sentence is death. They hard cut again to him walking up to the
Scaffold.
fucking, what is it called? Yeah, like where they're about to hang 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And the guy next to Franco is, crying and freaking the hell out, and then that's the line, talked about earlier.
Franco just stares at him for a minute, and then just goes, first time.
Fuck.
Oh my god.
I love it so much.
It's so
I love
good. So good.
And then as he's, they place the noose on him, as they're about to hang him, they have this final shot where Franco's looking out over the crowd and he sees a beautiful young woman, and I believe the line he says is that's a pretty girl, and then I think they hard cut to you hearing the scaffold as they hang them.
I think the bag comes over his head, which blacks out your screen, and then I think you hear it. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you hear the scaffold snap as they're descending from the gallows. I believe that's what they're called.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that one. That's the end of Near Algodones.
Oh my god.
Very, very.
What is that? What is that name? What Algodones? I know that. What is that? That's a reference to something, isn't it?
I believe it's a city in Mexico. Algodones.
Los Algodones. Northern
small Mexican town located. Yeah, it's approximately 16 kilometers west of Yuma, Arizona. So there you go.
Yeah.
probably went past it in Red Dead at some point.
Probably.
Definitely in Red Dead 2, because you covered the entire continent in that game.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. So let's talk about any other closing thoughts on. You said that one was your favorite.
That one was my favorite out of the 6.
I think the next one's mine.
Jesus, Jeff.
I think Meal Ticket is mine because as I watched this unfold, I was like, oh no.
I kept waiting for it to get better, and it didn't. It just kept going down the drain.
This one?
Oh my god, this
one is so oppressive.
I'm pretty sure when this one ended, I just had my hand over my face, like over my mouth, just staring at the screen.
I think
it is shockingly horrifying, the end of this.
It's fucking brutal, dude. This is another one I recommend at least YouTubing like this segment of it. If you're not gonna watch the whole thing, probably the ones that you most need to kind of like be prepped for by actually watching it are just how oppressive Meal Ticket is and just how fucking weird Buster Scruggs is at the beginning. But whew, that's gonna be hard to talk about because this one is just fucking rough.
It's followed by another dark one too. On top
Meal
of
Ticket.
it.
Meal Ticket stars Liam Neeson, who is titled on IMDb as the impresario. If you actually read the novelization bits at the end, he's referred to as the tall man.
Oh no.
Yeah. As soon as your guy is called the tall man, it's a fucking dark as shit, bleak ending on the way.
An impresario is a person who organizes and often finances concerts, plays, or operas, performing a role in stage arts that is similar to that of a film or television producer. Apparently. Thank you, Wikipedia.
The more you know. Co-leading this segment is Harry Melling.
That was shocking to me.
Yeah.
When I realized who that is.
Dudley? It's Dudley, right? Harry Potter.
Yeah. When I at first I was just like, I don't like. He looks familiar, but I don't know who the fuck this is. And then I look him up, and I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this is. And then it's just Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter. And I was like, okay, well, that's why I don't know who this is. And the next time I saw my wife, I was like, hey, in Harry Potter, who's Dudley? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what character is Dudley? And then she kind of laughed, and she's like, the nerdy kid, because he was a meme for a while because of the way he looks in Harry Potter versus how he looks now. And remember the meme of be careful who you make fun of in middle school? He was the face of that meme for a long time, but I had no idea that it was him. And he's a fucking great actor, dude.
He's amazing in this.
He's incredible.
He is absolutely incredible in this. And okay,
he's the artist.
Also,
artiste.
Did you notice his stage name that Liam Neeson gave him?
No.
On the posters. He calls him the wingless thrush.
Degrading, but kind of adorable at the same time.
It's so in context though. By the end of it, it's so mean.
Dude, I didn't even think about the end. What did you just do, Jeff?
Yeah.
What did you just do?
Yeah. So Liam Neeson,
you blew it up.
You maniacs. So Harry Melling plays this poor. I don't even know how he got they have very, very brief moments as Liam Neeson is walking through the crowd where he says found him, armless and legless on the streets of London, took him in. He is profiting off of these weird little presentations in this little stagecoach that they drive around in, and it's very bizarre too what they actually elect to have him speak pretty much verbatim, because it's not really a performance in the matter of it being like a play. Yeah, he's just one of them is the Gettysburg Address. There's a lot of Ozymandias, that poem. There's a lot of Shakespeare from the Tempest is in this, and it's just him reciting shit. But
I mean, there's no TV or anything, so makes sense.
Yeah, and they just go from town to town. They have him recite these 3 or 4 things for probably an hour or two, and that's how they make a living. Is he has?
Did you ever see on HBO? I think it's an original, Fahrenheit 451.
I read the book, but I haven't seen the movie.
Okay, as I say, he reminds me of the kid at the end of that's memorizing all the fucking books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I got from him. He just has all this shit in his head, and he's just doing it word for word. But the thing that was impressive to me about I already lost his name, Harry Melling. I just almost said Dudley because I couldn't think of his name. The thing that was impressive to me is it's not like he did it one time and they just used that footage over and over. Every time you hear him recounting these stories, it's different. The way he says it and everything. He must have done those scenes, especially in the montage part. He must have done those lines over and over and over 20 different ways for them to cut it together the way they did. Every one of them is different, but just as powerful every time.
Yeah. So the way he's portraying them as he's reciting them is he's enunciating with a lot of bravado, like he's on Broadway.
Yeah.
He's doing it very well, but he's just reciting these things.
That's his character name, the artist.
They're very rote, just because he's doing, I think adding the Gettysburg Address is very, very intelligent character building for Liam Neeson, because it just shows how stupid Liam Neeson is, because he just makes him recite the Gettysburg Address because it's just something he can recite. He's just filling airtime.
Yeah.
And another really impressive thing, you were talking about with the montage, if you notice, Harry Melling's passion decreases slightly over time because their situation is growing more dire. And dude, there's so much character development just in expressions from him.
Well, here's the thing.
The amount of pain you see in his eyes, especially later on, it'll break your fucking heart, man.
Well, okay.
He never says a word. He barely ever talks.
Yeah.
When it's not, I don't think he says anything.
Nope.
Outside of when he's reciting.
It's all facial expressions and tears.
Oh my, he's incredible,
dude. Oh my God. Okay, so if you notice also around the time that you're starting to like kind of figure out that something's not right with this whole relationship and everything, if you notice like the stories he's talking about and the parts of the stories they're choosing for you to hear him talk about in the montage and everything, and then you see the way this thing ends and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like
this shit is brutal.
They didn't just randomly pick verses from all of these works. Like, this is very deliberately arranged. And dude, that first time after that first town and all the money is collected, and then they're like out in the woods, because you don't know anything. You just know they come in, Liam Neeson sets up the thing. You don't know what he's setting up. And then the curtain's drawn and you're like, what the fuck? Because he's just there in a chair, no arms, no legs, just sitting in a chair, and he just starts reciting this stuff. And then you go to like them in the woods, and like Liam Neeson's feeding him and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay. But it's just like normal, mundane things at first, but as it goes on, the longer it goes on, the more there's just this eerie sense that starts to set in. Like, you just start getting unsettled, but you can't really figure out why.
Yeah, there is a definite sense of dread.
Yeah,
as this continues, and it's mostly from Harry Melling's expressions as he's reacting to what. And Liam Neeson's not recognizable in this.
No,
Liam Neeson is just so without speaking very much is so disgusting and so despicable that it's hard to watch when he carries him to the brothel, and he brings him into the room with him,
and then turns
and
him
as
around.
he just all he will do is walk over and then he just faces Harry Melling away, and then they cut, and it's just like, oh my God, it's so heartbreaking.
You buy any loving for your friend? Just like, oh Jesus, all of this. I am so uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable, but so well done at the same time. You're just like, God damn, it makes you want to take a shower. It's so gross. But it's also like,
have read and played and watched some pretty fucking dark things, but this one short, probably because of how fast it has to pile it on, maybe the darkest thing I've ever watched. I don't know. I think I think there's stuff that if you just judge them on the whole that I have engaged with that is darker. But they had like 2 hours, or it's a game that had 20 hours or something to flesh it out and let it seep in slowly. This is just bucket after bucket of dread and darkness, because it's like a 10 or like, no, it's more like a 20-minute short or something. And you're just like, oh my God, it's just, you're on the roller coaster on that downward swing for the whole 20 minutes and you never pull up. Yeah,
it's fucking rough,
but
you can't turn away. You can't turn away because it's so engaging, and the performances are so fucking good. And just the title, Meal Ticket.
Oh,
that title.
Oh my God,
is so amazing and so dark and fucking hell, man.
Because as this goes on, you realize that is literally their only relationship.
How matter-of-factly he feeds him.
Oh, I know.
And that's the thing too. Liam Neeson doesn't even treat him like a pet. He treats him like a thing.
Yep.
Because when people have pets, there's usually some emotion there. You know, you think of the way that you talk to your dog or your cat, there is a genuine bond there. Liam Neeson just views him as a meal ticket. He doesn't even view him as a human being anymore, because all he exists for is making money for Liam Neeson. And as soon as the money starts to dwindle, because they start showing how, as Liam Neeson, is walking from crowd to crowd, I think part of it is it's getting colder out.
Right.
So people don't want to like sit outside near their little stagecoach to watch a performance. And if there's less people, they make less money because their only income is him walking around with his hat. He talks about the sob story about how he found him in London, armless and legless. And as soon as the money starts to dwindle, and what he finds to replace him.
Oh my god. The thing I was going to point out before we move on real quick though is like as they're traveling and like the scenes of them on the road, he's talking to the horse like all lovingly. Liam Neeson is.
Yeah.
But he never once even talks God damn it. Dudley.
Harry Melling.
Yes. I don't know why that name won't stick in my brain. But yeah, he never really once even talks to him or even really looks at him or acknowledges him. And he's talking to the horse like you would talk to your dog.
Man, this is hard to watch, dude. It is hard.
Oh my god!
Just wait till you watch it a second time.
Oh, no thanks.
As you watch it a second, I'll eventually make you watch it a second time, just to be a dick. And just like, dude, that's the fucking dread you will
Screenplay Rewind
feel
and
in
review.
The dread you feel in your fucking soul when you start this, knowing where it goes. Man.
Oh, we're
it's so
I've got
so good.
Things I want to talk about at the end of this one.
Yes. So what he replaces Harry Melling with is Liam Neeson is walking around town. It's right after they've had a failed performance where they haven't gotten any money. Liam Neeson is walking around this little town they're in, and he sees a huge crowd pulling around in the middle of the street. So he walks up to investigate what the hell's going on, and he finds a chicken that can do math. People in the crowd will say, like, what's, 7 minus 2? And the chicken goes up and pecks at the number. Liam Neeson immediately pulls out a huge stack of cash that he's apparently been hoarding, while feeding Harry Melling barely anything, like a little bit of beans. Did you notice that?
Yep.
Like, he was hiding this money because he was feeding Harry Melling, decently at the beginning when he was actually making money for him. But as the showing started to make less and less income, he fed him like a quarter can of a fucking can of beans. Yeah. And that was it. That was his dinner. So Liam Neeson pulls out this fat fucking, like, a lot of money for Western times. It's a lot of fucking money.
How do I know that that's not just a roll of ones with a $20 bill on the outside?
So he buys the arithmetic chicken, which is now the new name of this podcast.
Arithmetic chicken.
Yeah.
That's probably my next Dark Souls character for no reason.
He buys the math chicken, takes him back to their little campground with Harry Melling, doesn't feed Harry Melling, and pulls open this huge sack of fucking feed for the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And the look on Harry Melling's face as this is happening makes your soul hurt, dude.
And the camera stays there for a long time.
Whew. It makes you so uncomfortable and so sad. But you can't turn away.
And then
it keeps on going.
Doesn't it cut from there to them on the road and he's like riding next to the chicken in the cage and he's just staring at the chicken?
Yep. He's in the back of their little wagon thing, just chilling next to the chicken.
Oh my god.
Oh god. They are going along this, what would you kind of call it? It's like a ravine with a pretty high drop near, like a drawbridge kind of.
Yeah, probably a ravine, yeah.
And as Harry Melling is staring out the back of the wagon, Liam Neeson stops the wagon, walks over to the bridge, looks over the bridge, looks kind of is gauging the distance.
Well, first he passes by it, and then you see this thought come across his face, and then he holds up the wagon, and he just gets down and just casually walks over to the edge of the ravine, and you see him gauging the depth, and it keeps cutting back and forth to Harry Melling watching this happen. And you see Liam Neeson pick up this big ass rock, kind of heft it, and then he looks over the edge, and then he drops it, and you hear a splash eventually, and he just kind of nods to himself. And it's just like, oh my god.
Because as this is happening, your brain
is doing the math.
Is telling you no.
It's doing the arithmetic.
Your brain is doing the chicken math, and you're just like, no, that's not where this is going, right? It can't be. And as Liam Neeson walks back to Harry Melling, this impish smile he gives him.
Doesn't he even wave to him? I have a memory of him like waving hi to him or something.
It's haunting because it's not insidious. He's
like genuinely happy.
There's a little bit of like happiness behind it, but it's not evil at the same time. It's very weird.
Just business.
I feel like they probably had to do that take 20 times just to nail it because it's so specific.
Yeah.
And another thing we didn't talk about too, that is another great element of Harry Melling's performance, is everything that Liam Neeson does. Harry Melling is drawn to attentively, almost like a dog. Mm-hmm. He reacts to it almost like a dog, like when he like sticks his head out of the wagon, because he doesn't really have a personality.
Yeah,
because like literally the only communication that he ever has is reciting these things for his audience.
He's clearly got an intelligence because of the way he's doing his own mental chicken math through the whole thing. I don't know. I couldn't nail down if his character has like some sort of autism or something. As I said, there's an intelligence there. He's got all this knowledge in his head, but at the same time, he's a little off.
Well, but he couldn't be anything other than off.
Yeah,
because he's just a stage prop.
Right.
Like he's just the meal ticket. So I think there's so much thought behind this character and how little they talk about him and how little they describe him that makes it work even better. Just because like there's a lot you can draw from a character that never says anything to anyone other than the performance of that he does in front of the audiences. It's fucking fascinating to think about his character.
Do you think that the implication with the way he acts and the lack of just speaking at all and everything is just supposed to be he's been living like this with him for so long that he's just so bogged down?
He's a prisoner.
He's just so beat down. Yeah, like
he's so trapped. I think he's just
he just gave up a long time ago.
He just gave up a long time ago, which makes it even more sad. Because he's been doing this for so long, and it's not like he can say no. Because what happens if he tells Liam Neeson no? The only reason he's living is because Liam Neeson is feeding him the little bit that he is.
Now, how much about the story about him finding him do you believe?
That's another thing. You don't know because his character is so clearly traumatized. You don't know. Because he very well could have done it to him. You don't know.
It's so perfect for what Liam Neeson's got going on that he's got a guy that can't fight and can't run away. Like, is there a possibility that he's in the condition he's in due to Liam Neeson?
Absolutely. And the fact that they don't confirm that is
they
ingenious.
Don't deny it either.
It's all there for your interpretation. And that is one of the best things about short stories is that it allows you to leave shit up to interpretation. You don't have to, dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
Because it's like he found this guy that can do this thing because he's clearly experienced at what he's doing, reciting this stuff. He clearly, it knows how to do it. He's got experience with it, and it's almost like the inference is Liam Neeson saw a meal ticket and then punched it 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
Man,
like it's.
This short is genius to me, dude. Like, the more I think about it, the more I like it, because just like we've been talking about, so much is left vague that it's just Jeff catnip.
See,
it's
I can't
so bleak.
This one is so geniusly done, so well done, and so well performed by everybody. Liam Neeson's incredible. Harry Melling is incredible, but it's so goddamn bleak that I had to take First Time as my favorite But this is probably the most well done of all the 6, and probably the best performed. I think it's probably the best written and best performed of all 6. But I just couldn't pick it as my favorite one because it's so heavy.
I cannot blame you at all because it is hard to watch, but
it
good
literally,
God,
that's a good way to say it. Because I literally found myself not wanting to watch this anymore as it unfolded.
You know what's also like really fucked up is most of the time that Liam Neeson even gives him a chance to speak is in front of the crowd. What if he was a victim and he could have been crawling like trying to get help and no one would believe him because they would think it'd be part of the performance of his little stagecoach. There's so much bleak.
For all we know, that's happened. I mean, we don't know.
There's so much left open that is so fucking smart, and it just like the idea behind this, and just them having the audacity to fucking commit the story. Like, this would be fucked up to read. They fucking commissioned this for their movie and hired goddamn Harry Melling and Liam Neeson to do it. Like, there's a lot of audacity behind this story.
It would be fucked up to read, but it's so well acted. I think I almost prefer to read it because I don't think my brain could take it as dark as it did.
Oof.
You know what I mean? Because it's so good, but it's so awful. Like, dear God, Geoff, what did you do?
It's grotesquely gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Woo, yeah.
I think Dark Souls or maybe even Yarnum is like a happy-go-lucky place compared to Meal Ticket.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking of that little grin that Liam Neeson has as he's walking up to him.
It sends a shiver down your spine.
It really does. He walks up to the stagecoach.
Because even the chicken knows what's about to happen. Everybody knows what's about to happen.
He can do the math.
He saw it before anyone.
They cut away after Liam Neeson walks up to the stagecoach to a very, very quiet and still shot of the ravine where the stagecoach has left it, and then they cut to Liam Neeson driving away with only the chicken, and then that's the way the story ends. Now there's a little bit more if you pause it there and you read it. They have a little bit more into the act that they show of him dropping him off the bridge, which is interesting, but also well done because they don't give away like too much detail. Because like what works for writing isn't necessarily what is the best presentation for cinema. So the cuts they do work really well for cinema, but if you want to get like a little bit more detail on what happened, you can also read that last page and a half that I recommend people to do.
These are so fleshed out and so dense. I almost feel like somewhere, maybe on the Coen's like own bookshelf, that book exists. I almost
you can
feel
buy
like
the screenplay, but I don't know if the novel bits are included as part of the screenplay. But if they are, I would totally fucking buy that.
I almost feel like they would have had to have novelized it on their own and then worked out from there to do what they
do.
Because it's just so dense and fleshed out in every one of these.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts on Meal Ticket? The wonderfully good time.
Oh my God. There ain't no whimsical songs here.
Yeah.
I could use a Buster Scruggs right now, Geoff.
This happens 45 fucking ish minutes after you watch Buster Scruggs kill Clancy Brown
via table,
and you laughed your ass off. Like, the tone in this fucking anthology is all over the place.
Here's the thing too. If you zoom out, the very first one, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, it's as dark as the rest of them. But because the tone that they set with that opening shot and with how just fucking off the wall goofy Buster himself is, I mean, his name is Buster.
Buster Scruggs. What a great fucking name.
Immediately invokes fucking Babs and Buster from Tiny Toons to me. You know, like it's just the tone of that one is so different, even though it's basically dark just like the rest of them.
There is a fucking awesome little tidbit in the novelization at the end of the Buster Scruggs segment too, where they cut perspective to the kid, that takes out Buster Scruggs.
Yeah.
And then they end the novelization of it on that last page by talking about how there's a kid who's a farmhand, practicing with the gun. Maybe one day he'll have a tale of meeting up with, like the kid of his, where they foretell how the Buster Scruggs kid scenario, will just continue happening because you can only stay top dog for so long. It's very cool. Very well written, so go check that out. Yeah, absolutely pause and read all the novelizations. Read as much as you can. I'm going to do some more researching. I would love to read whatever amounts of novelization they have for this, because there's a lot of interesting stuff I think you can...
Are you talking about a Screenplay Rewind book report?
Maybe.
Is our book club for movies going to become a book club, Jeff?
A book club for books?
Our book club for movies going to become a movie book club?
A movie club for books? Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the next one. I probably don't have as much to talk about All Gold Canyon.
Yeah.
I don't dislike this one, but this is probably my least favorite.
I agree. It's super dark. It fits in with the rest of them just fine. It's a fine story. It's just eminently forgettable.
Which is interesting.
It's not poorly done or anything.
Yeah.
It's well
this was
done.
actually, I believe, this was one of the... This one and The Gal Who Got Rattled were actually both based off of prior stories that were published in a kind of a weekly kind of pulp fiction-y Western piece that was ongoing for a long time. I forget the name of it, but it talks about it on the Wikipedia page. This was actually, I believe, a Jack London story, a Jack London short story, which makes sense in the kind of tone of it. But I think that's why... this one doesn't really stand out as much, because it is established material and it doesn't have that very, very specific either zaniness or just like unadulterated Coen brothers of flavor to it, I guess.
This one's a little bit more run of the mill, but it's not. Yeah,
it's not bad.
It's not bad, and like I said, it's
perfectly engaging.
Put together well. The story's good. It's well acted, especially something that happens near the end of it. But it's just not as interesting. I don't know. Like I said,
I like the performance by Tom Waits. I like his performance.
I literally forgot that this one was in here until I looked at my notes. So
yeah, because like especially what hurts it is it follows up Meal Ticket.
Yes,
which maybe is intentional. Maybe they're giving you time to fucking absorb what just happened. They're giving you time to complete the chicken arithmetic in your brain of what you just watched happen to poor Dudley, dude.
As you switch gears to, just hold on, Mr. Pocket.
Yeah, I'm kind of Mr. Pocket.
You just wait.
Tom Waits plays a prospector who is in this beautiful, beautiful area. I don't know exactly if they ever say like where he's at, but it's a beautiful region where he finds this stream that he's... By the way, can you imagine a more fucking boring and miserable job than digging for gold? It just sounds and looks awful to me.
And
but I hate being
about 99% of those people failed, and yeah,
and died of the elements or died poor.
there was no gold in them there hills, pretty much.
Indeed, Tom Waits spends the majority of the short trying to locate the pocket of like the big pocket of gold, because he's going up and down the stream counting the little flecks, trying to find where it is a deeper and richer mine. Eventually finds it, as he is it takes him several days as they just kind of start showing his little mounds where he's been going around trying to locate it. He eventually locates it at the exact second that he finds out a young what would you say is like kind of like 20ish, maybe like late teens, early 20s, has been kind of scoping him out, waiting for him to locate the pocket, and then plans to kill him and then take the find.
Yes.
He shoots him in the back in a moment that, you're just like, fuck, man.
You shot me in the back.
And again, this is another just the juxtaposition of where the tone goes. As soon as he gets shot in the back, this being a follow-up to Meal Ticket, I thought he was fucking dead. I thought that was the story,
I thought that was it too. That's what I was going to talk about, because the way that they linger on that character, and I'm trying, just like all the other characters,
It's played by Tom Waits. It's played by Tom Waits as the prospector, Sam Dillon as the young man. And they're the only two characters outside of it's literally just them.
So the way it lingers on the young man, just sitting on the edge of the hole, he takes his time rolling a cigarette, and
it's so quiet.
He lights it
That's
up.
the thing that gets me.
And he's just laying there watching him bleed out, and he's just sitting there waiting. And then finally he puts the cigarette out, puts it back in his pocket, and jumps down. And as soon as he does, Tom Waits just leaps at him.
Full fucking Voorhees mode, man.
Yes. And then the entire time he's just yelling, "You shot me in the back, you son of a bitch, you shot me in the back." Yeah. Oh my God.
It's pretty awesome, because you totally think he's dead.
Yeah. And he's waiting to see if he's dead because he knows full well that he may not be.
It's also the way that they linger on watching the blood slowly seep across his white clothing on his back is also very good.
How dark is the act of him sitting there staring at him, rolling a cigarette casually and all that stuff? That's experience is what that is. That means that he's been jumped like this before, thinking someone was dead, and survived it. So he's sitting there waiting, like, okay, if he wasn't dead, he should be by now. I mean, he's bled out. It's been this long. I smoked nearly a whole
he's an
cigarette.
old man.
He's an old man. Been out here for days, working himself to death. And yeah, that to me, that speaks of experience is the implication. That this is what he did. He's the Patches, if you will.
Take a drink.
I'm just trying to work as many as I can in.
R.I.P. Bobby's liver.
But yeah, it's just, oh my God. And then that fight they get into, and because of the way this whole movie has gone, for the first 3 stories, I don't know which way this fight is going to go.
That's another thing too that I love that you made that point, is because of how much audacity they have with either making this shit bleak like with Meal Ticket or making it fucking weird with Buster Scruggs. You're on the edge of your seat because you literally don't know what the fuck they're going to do. And it's awesome for that to me, because I was just like, I don't know what I'm fucking in for these next few shorts, You're just like, God damn.
Were you waiting to see if there was someone that was stalking the young kid that was going to kill him? I was waiting for a third person to show up.
Oh, yeah. I could see that. I honestly thought it was just going to end with him walking. I thought it was going to end with the young man putting the gold on his donkey and then just walking away. And I thought that was going to be the way that it ended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the only chicken math I was able to compile as I was still reeling from what happened to Dudley, dude. But yeah, it's good. I think they might linger a little bit too long on him trying to find the pocket, but they're trying to make you care. And I think Tom Waits does like a really good job of making the prospector kind of likable, despite having no one to talk to, having not really he literally only talks to the fucking gold pocket, So I think Tom Waits does like a pretty good job. It's just,
I think they're trying to let you catch your breath is what they're trying to let you do. They know Meal Ticket was heavy. Near Algodones wasn't exactly lighthearted. So I think they're trying to let you catch your breath. I would have almost done that by starting with this one and putting Buster Scruggs probably after Meal Ticket, just to be as jarring as I possibly could.
Could you imagine? Like, oh my God, the fucking whiplash I would have of that
happening. Neck! You broke my neck, you son of a bitch! Yeah. Oh my God. Could you imagine opening with this one? You'd be like, okay, what's going on here? And then you just.
But you also have to be. You have to be tactical. You have to be tactical with the way you do anthologies, though.
Yeah.
Because like the thing with Buster Scruggs is, it's so fucking batshit. It grips your fucking attention. It grips it a lot more than this would, because this would almost kind of like lull you into a false sense of security for a bit, of thinking it's just kind of down to earth when it's not. Like, this is one of the most down to earth, if not the most down to earth ones they have. There's nothing really crazy about it. The fact that he fucking lives is pretty crazy if he does live in the end.
Right.
I mean,
We don't actually
probably
know.
he's gonna surely die of infection because it's 1864 and he got shot through the fucking side.
I kept waiting for the trope of he's gonna take like a red hot poker and cauterize it. You know?
Yeah.
I kept waiting for him to do that, but they did make the point that the bullet went clean through, which is a very good thing because that reduces a lot of the infection and the poisoning that comes from a gunshot wound. Because if the bullet stays in, it usually festers. Not to mention it's made out of lead on top of it, on top of everything
but shit,
else.
In the 1860s, you could fucking die of a broken toe.
Yeah.
Like, he's dead.
Yeah.
But I also think it's another like good bit of acting from Tom Waits of how he's almost willing it to be so. Because he doesn't necessarily know, because what he keeps repeating is it didn't hit anything important. You know, it hit nothing important. You don't know that, Mr. Prospector.
Mr.
You know gold, but you don't know fucking chicken math. You don't know like the science behind what you just got shot. You know, you get shot in the fucking back in the 1860s, you're fucking dead. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. I like how we're discussing the science of this after Buster Scruggs happened. But again, it's just the tone that it's going for. Did you have any other thoughts on All Gold Canyon before we move on?
No, but when we move on, I do want to grind the podcast to a halt because I just noticed something on the IMDb.
Okay.
I have a new goal in life.
Okay.
I would like to, if I only do one thing in Hollywood, if I'm only ever in one movie, I want to be credited as the Chicken Impresario.
You gotta need to rename your Twitch channel, your PUBG character, all of it. You be Chicken Impresario, and I'll be Pan Shot in all caps and like 17 exclamation points.
Dude, Paul Ray was the Chicken Impresario in Mill Ticket.
God,
that's a name. That is
a magical combination of words, my friend. That is a good fucking
I literally just look. I have IMDb on the right side of my screen and my notes on the left, and I just looked up and my eyes just locked on it in the middle of us talking about All Gold Canyon.
I'm gonna screenshot that and potentially make it the background image for the Twitter, but that would require removing the fucking Willy's Wonderland image of Nick Cage having a plunger on the gorilla, and I don't think I can bring myself to do that.
Is plunger on the gorilla a euphemism?
Moving on.
You got to give me an 8x8 starring the Chicken Impresario, dude.
I'm on the motherfucker. See, that's the thing too. Meal Ticket is so fucking good
that we're still talking about it in All Gold Canyon,
and so fucking dark. I feel like a hack.
Oh no,
there is nothing I can come up with is ever as good as that. It's like, God damn it, Coen Brothers. Why you gotta be so like, you don't get to make Meal Ticket and the Big fucking Lebowski. Come on, man. You're just being selfish now. Leave some creativity to the rest of mankind, you assholes.
Jeff, how many times I gotta talk you down from your horse, man? You're not James Franco, okay? It's okay. It's okay. I will. If I need to come along and try shooting the rope again, I will.
Stop moving so much.
Stop moving so much.
Oh God, so many memes. So many memes. We need to play PUBG immediately so all of this can become ingrained.
We need to start using the all chat more. We need to start yelling pan shot as loud as we can.
Pan shot.
And if we get killed from behind, you shot me in the back, you goddamn son of a bitch.
Someone out there is going to have watched this movie and is going to get a kick out of that. Oh my God.
I'm pretty sure at this point, if my wife is awake at all for any reason, then she's probably convinced I've developed Tourette's with how much I've been yelling that.
Pan shot.
Chat. First time.
Oh God.
Oh my God, love this movie. So many memes.
I love this movie and how fucking gloriously memeified it can be. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about the penultimate story, the gal who got rattled. This was the other one that was based off of a previously established work, but from what I read from an article,
what was
very loosely based.
What was your overall thoughts on this one before we dig in?
I really, really like it.
Okay.
I don't like it as much as Meal Ticket. or Near Agadones, but I like it a lot. It's also the longest one, which is worth it. This is actually like a 45. This is more. This is more like a novella, whereas the other ones are short stories.
Yeah, to me, this one didn't really do anything for me. I could
totally see that.
I get before we dig into it, I just want to say I get now that I've seen it, I know how it ends. I get what they were doing. I get what they were going for. I just don't think the payoff was worth it after going through like 45 minutes of this. It just felt like it just kept rolling and it just wouldn't come to a stop.
I think if there's so the overall runtime of this movie
is right around 2 hours, isn't it?
Is about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Now I don't know how much of that. I don't remember how like extended their credit sequences, but it's a little over 2 hours, and I think it probably would have been better suited cutting down a little bit of The Gal Who Got Rattled and a little bit of the beginning of All Gold Canyon. I think if you could get this down to like an hour and 50-ish minutes, I think it would be a little bit better paced. I don't hate this part. The reason it's longer is they're trying to establish a romance between the two leads of this segment.
I did not buy into at all.
It's tough. I actually like the performances.
I
just think it's a little bit underwritten.
But the characters and I don't know, with the lack of chemistry and stuff, it just seemed really forced. And we'll get into it when we get into it, but it was basically just a business arrangement more than anything is what it felt like. I don't know.
But I think the performances do heavy lifting to actually kind of because it's realistic in a sense. It would be awkward for them.
Yeah.
And I think they convey that appropriately because I like the fact that they don't fall in movie plot love, or two people meet each other within 5 minutes, they're madly in love.
Right.
Like, it can be awkward, especially because of their arrangement. And I think they actually do, like in some of the scenes later where they have so the basic rundown of this segment is it's The Gal Who Got Rattled. Bill Heck plays Billy Knapp, who's I don't even know like what their exact like position is called, but they essentially kind of like steer wagon trails, and they're going to what is it, like Oregon, somewhere up in
I think I think they literally say that they're on the Oregon Trail, and I was like, oh, so everybody dies of dysentery. Got it. I already know where this is going.
He's helping to lead the caravan essentially with Zoe Kazan. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I actually like her a lot. Did you ever see The Big Sick?
No,
probably have not.
Mm-mm.
She's very good in that. That's the Kumail Nanjiani movie it's like a romantic comedy that got a decent amount of acclaim a few years ago. It's one of the movies that kind of made Kumail like Nanjiani more of a, he's not just the funny guy off Silicon Valley. He is actually an actor. She's good in that.
An actor.
So I like her just in general. But again, most of the characters in this segment are underwritten because I think it does overstay its welcome a little bit too much. I think it would have been better suited by being shorter.
Yeah, I've got nothing against the actors. I thought they all did really well. I could not stand her character. I think she was fine. The actress was fine. I think it is just the character. Like, I just did not care for her. And like, they do this, you could almost cut it into a montage because it's like, it cuts to the caravan moving and then cuts to night when they're parked. And then she approaches Bill Heck because there's another problem. And then they're moving, now they're parked, and there's another problem. And they're moving, and they're parked, and now there's another problem. And it's just like, they would hate her by the time they got where they were fucking going, because every night she's having to approach them about her barking dog or whatever.
Yeah, but they also legitimately feel bad because her brother just died in the middle of the thing, and she's all by herself.
But
so you would feel sympathy for her.
But she doesn't really see, and like, okay, the brother. I feel like there's some weird implications with the brother, but I may also be paranoid after Meal Ticket. So, because I feel like this movie. See, I think part of my problem is every one of these stories so far has had some kind of weird take or twist or implication. And this one is just fairly straightforward, and I kept waiting for it. I kept waiting for when, you know,
for the turn
when it was going to drop, and then it ended, and I was like, oh, all right.
See, that's the thing, is the reason you're feeling this after this story and All Gold Canyon is because they're not Coen Brothers stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I almost feel like this would have been better suited had they not had the gal who got rattled or All Gold Canyon and just spent more time developing stories, because I am more interested in Coen Brothers original Western tales than I am established adaptations from them, because these are perfectly fine. They're incredibly well shot. All the performances are either, you know, like good to great. You know, no one's bad in this movie. It's a fucking Coen Brothers movie. They don't work with bad actors. It's
right.
not. I actually probably liked Bill Heck the most out of this segment. He's playing Billy Knapp. I actually think he'd be a very good John Marston if they ever got around to doing Red Dead.
I wrote down in my notes John Marston, but I'm looking at his IMDb and I'm like, I think he could do that or Arthur Morgan. He looks more like Arthur Morgan, but I could take him as either one.
Now, the thing with Arthur Morgan is it's fan casting cliche by now, but I think Arthur Morgan has to be Josh Brolin by this point. As soon as that was stated online and I read that, I was like, yep, that's the one. I think you have.
Now that you said that, I almost feel like he's modeled off of Josh Brolin.
A little bit, right?
Because the way the actor they have portraying his voice, the way they animate his movements, and the way he looks when he's like shaving and stuff. Not that anyone ever shaved him. He always has these crazy fucking like Peter Griffin beards with birds living in it. But Bill Heck would be a great John Marston.
He could, because I actually really like his performance in that. Yeah, I really like his performance in this, and why I think it would translate wonderfully to Marston is how he is a realistic character in the way that John Marston kind of is, because John Marston is not your prototypical like Clint Eastwood Western badass. You know, like, I like the fact that Bill Heck seems kind of down to earth. I like the bit how he tried to put down the dog and couldn't because he's just a bad shot. You know,
right?
He plays this very down to earth Western cowboy that is relatable in a way that makes John Marston, you know, the same way than how, you know, John Marston was a fuck up, you know, and it makes him relatable and it makes him likable. He's not a super god, you know, he's not a Buster Scruggs. He's not this insanely competent gunslinger. He's just a dude living in that time. And I think he looks like Marston. I like, if they ever do anything with Red Dead in live action, cast this guy. Also, really quickly, while I was looking at his IMDb earlier, he is starring or co-starring, I don't know, like the extent of his role, in an upcoming show on FX. I believe it's called The Old Man.
Yes.
He is playing the younger version of Jeff Bridges' character within the same show.
Ooh.
And that is awesome casting. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I don't know what this is about. I'm fucking watching it, because that is excellent casting. I think if you just like look at him, compared to I could totally see it. I really like the characterization of Mr. Arthur. I think is pretty interesting in how they have conversations about how Bill Heck, you know, he doesn't want to end up like Mr. Arthur, because Mr. Arthur just is kind of like a hollow shell of himself because he's just never settled down.
Right.
But as soon as they get into a combat situation, it kind of like snaps him back and he's like a person again. I actually like that element. I think the most interesting character here actually ends up being Mr. Arthur. Funny enough, because when you just think of how he fucking says almost as little words as Dudley did.
I know.
In conversation. But as soon as he's there, you know, trying to save, what is her name? Alice at the end.
See, we talked about Red Dead so much, I just kept going Abigail, and I'm like, that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah. I like his, just how he kind of snaps out of it once he gets, because it's very sad too, like what happens at the end, you know, like when the ending of this that we should establish, you know, just since we're doing like little minor recaps of everything, is at the end of the story, she has gone to find the dog that ran away after, and that's another thing. Like, could you imagine like what Billy Knapp will feel that if he'd only been able to put down the dog, she probably survives, because the reason she's off on her own is because she heard the dog. It's very very heartbreaking thinking about like what can lead to like the novelization and images we talked about earlier that they show in the interstitials between the stories is they say it's a shot of Mr. Arthur walking back to Billy Knapp, and and the caption is Mr. Arthur didn't know what to say to Billy Knapp or whatever.
Which
it's just very.
I was gonna say, which for a guy that it's an interesting choice of words for a guy that basically has said nothing until that fight with the war party.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. Since this one didn't really do anything for me, I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. I didn't even put together that the dog is what gets her killed, and they made a point of the dog barking from the beginning, and that's why they were gonna put down the dog, which pissed me off. Dogs bark, yo. I'm sorry. I don't care if the neighbors have noise complaints. He's my dog. But yeah, so I hadn't even put that together. And if I recall, that final shot, he returns to the caravan with the dog.
Yeah. Yeah, the dog is running around his legs as he's walking towards the caravan.
Yeah, and you see John Marston walking towards them in the distance.
That's actually a very interesting thing about this story to me.
They shift the protagonist almost.
They shift the protagonist.
Yeah.
Billy Knapp doesn't even play a part in the third act, like the quote unquote third act of the story.
Yeah. And
I think that's kind of cool because he's presented as the main character outside of Alice. He's presented as the co-lead. It'd be like the co-lead just disappears from the third act. So like it's on the surface very run of the mill compared to like some of the other shit we've talked about, but there are interesting. Like, I can see what they were going for, like you said earlier. I agree. I just think what let it down was a little bit of underwritten characterization of the two leads and just how long that it goes on for. If they had just cut out like even 5 minutes of the Oregon Trail,
what was even the point? Why didn't we just start there? What was even the point of the house that they started in the beginning?
Just to show how much of a cock her brother was, I think, and how the only family she ever had. Oh, we didn't even really talk about it. The reason that the ending happens the way that it does is Mr. Arthur is they get swarmed by this huge group of Native Americans who are going to attack their caravan, and they're not exactly there to attack the caravan. They're there to attack Alice because she gets separated from the group. They have conversations, but I think it was Billy Knapp or Mr. Arthur and her throughout the story about they won't attack the caravan, but you have to be careful, don't go alone, foreshadowing it. They go there, they get caught off on their own. Mr. Arthur has to defend her, and he's completely fucking bad. Like, he is the gunslinger. That's interesting too, is like he's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
he saves the day, but she ends up killing herself because he gives her a gun with 2 bullets, and he says, if I get overrun, one of those bullets I'm gonna kill you with, and I'm gonna off myself, but if I can't get back to you and it looks like you're gonna get taken, don't allow it to happen. He looks like he's been killed by one of the last guys attacking, and because he gets hit upside the head, but he was only like just briefly knocked out. Yeah, and he saves the day, and when he walks over, he finds her, and she's gone through with it. She's killed herself unnecessarily, and he now has to go and talk to Billy Knapp about what he's going to do, because they had just days prior, if not like the night before, she had agreed to marry Billy to be able to pay off the debt that her brother had owed their helping hand, like along the trail, actually moving a lot of their supplies and stuff back and forth. So there's a lot of subtext to it. I just think it's underwritten, and I also just think it kind of gets a bit of a bad rap in comparison to how fucking genius something like Meal Ticket is. Do you remember when we talked about Southbound, and there was a story about the guy trying to find his sister, and it's like, in a nutshell, it's not bad. It's just bad by association.
On its own, it's not bad. Yeah.
It's kind of like this. I don't think it's bad. I just think it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because it's very run-of-the-mill compared to some of the more crazy shit or just interesting shit that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not nearly as warm on this one. I don't even think on its own I just even really care that much. I just didn't really buy into any of the motivations or anything. The only thing I cared about was the fight at the end. Like when the payoff, when you find out that she shot herself, I was like, oh, all right. Well, I guess that happened. Like I didn't even care because the character already was annoying me to begin with. And then she's like, I don't know, when he finds her, like she seems like she's just lost her mind. Like she's not even the same person. Because she can't even stop laughing because the dog is barking at some Indiana Jones gophers. Like, I don't know. The whole thing is just odd.
It's parts of it are a little weird. I think I did like it more.
And there's all this stuff with like the person that her brother hired and how much money he's owed, and like they drive all of these points home that they hammer them in so hard, and none of it matters. Like, it's if they weren't pushing everything, every little event so hard, if they had cut some of this down from the 45 minutes into the same 20, 30 minutes that like Meal Ticket or any of the other ones are, I just feel like it would have helped it tremendously. But I don't know. I just kept waiting for it to do what it was going to do. And then when it finally did, I was like, no, okay.
I definitely liked it more the second time watching it, I think.
Sometimes that helps, I will admit. Sometimes that helps.
Because when you're watching it a second time and you know where it's going, you kind of like realize what is more relevant, and you're not waiting, for the turn of some of the other stories. And again, I think part of the problem is this would have been better off being original stories because it would have been more fun,
yeah,
or more Meal Ticket.
No.
And who knows, and they're also trying to adapt something, and that can be difficult too because they're trying to add some of their own flavor to it while also adapting it. I've heard it's a loose adaptation, so I don't know what exactly was taken and what was removed. I definitely liked it more than you, but I totally understand it not being as engaging as like some of the other stuff we talked about. It's just not. Yeah,
it's weird.
It's trying to tell a different kind of story.
Yeah, it's trying to tell a different kind of story, and I think that's maybe part of it because it stands apart from the others in the movie. But I don't know. It's not that I hate it. At the same time, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Which
it's the dark.
Which I think
it's the Dark Souls 2 of Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I think we have you on recording at some point saying that the worst thing anything can do is be mediocre because you don't even care enough to hate it. Like, that's just kind of where I am with it. It's just, okay.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. I cannot fault you for that. I also, just as I'm watching this, imagining Bill Heck as John Marston, it's like, give me that fucking HBO show of Red Dead with it. Like, man. Hell, even the guy playing Mr. Arthur wouldn't be a bad Dutch either. If you gotta think the way that he kind of talks, with the way he talks kind of like frantically towards the end as he's, prepping to fight off the swarm.
Yeah.
The way he's just kind of like, what's like he's just kind of all over the place. The way he talks to her gave me kind of like Dutch vibes too. Like how Dutch would have these like very, very
I gotta play
oddball quirks with the way he would communicate with everyone. It just kind of made me think of that. So yeah, just like everyone in here, Control C, Red Dead HBO show, Control V, and then we're talking. Let's talk about the final segment.
Oh, my God.
The Mortal Remains. This is ending on, I think
just for the technical points this thing scores, it is one of the top of the 6, if not the top. I don't know. To me, this one ran hand in hand with Meal Ticket. I like Meal Ticket better, but I like this one a lot. This one is fascinating when you really break it down and think about it. The Mortal Remains. Meal Ticket is your kind of thing, but I love shit like this.
Yeah,
like give me an entire movie of these characters, dude. Especially the two main. I love them so much.
The Englishman and the Irishman?
Yes, yeah. I love them.
Yeah, they're amazing.
So much.
They're amazing.
And we got to talk about the Englishman when we get into this, dude, because holy fuck,
we're gonna talk
John
about
Joe
it.
O'Neill or whatever.
He's incredible.
Oh, dude.
He is so fucking charismatic in this segment. Okay, so it's called The Mortal Remains. This is our last and 6th vignette. This opens up with how many passengers is it? Is it
5?
5?
Well,
yeah, 2.
6. One's on the roof.
And 7 with the
coachman.
Father
Gascoigne.
Coachman who never. Yeah, dude. That's one of my notes. His outfit is fucking Gascoigne to a T.
When they look out the window and it has that camera shot from their angle, it's at an upward angle where everything's kind of tilted and you see the scarf and the hat and everything's blowing behind him where he's almost like he's a Ghost Rider character or something.
Holy fuck.
And he's like whipping at the horse and stuff. And I was like, Father Gascoigne? And then at the end when he just casually walks by the camera, I'm like, no. That's fucking Father Gascoigne. His hands are wrapped up and everything.
Yeah.
The dude's a fucking werewolf. And he doesn't like music boxes very much.
This story, it's 5 passengers in a stagecoach. For the most part, just talking. And it's like gripping at the same time. It's so... This is pure,
trapper.
like... So our actors in here, just real quickly, Brendan Gleeson plays the Irishman. Fucking love me some Brendan Gleeson, no matter what he does. Love him and everything. John Joe O'Neill stealing the show as the Englishman. He is his fellow bounty hunter.
Oh God.
Saul Rubinek, who's a character actor everyone's seen in a million things, as the Frenchman. Tyne Daly plays the lady, another famous character actress. She's been in a million things. And Chelsea Ross playing the trapper.
Who is unrecognizable.
Yeah, because he's in this giant fucking trapper beard. He's talking like a crazy Red Dead 2 NPC.
like when you find out in the middle of the desert or something. Like, yeah.
Yeah. They're on the stagecoach. They're very, very and intentionally vague about where they're going. Everyone talks in these very like weird, almost clashing monologues. This feels like a stage play to me, the way that they talk to each other, and just it feels like something you'd see on like it's a one set essentially, story outside of the very end. Could totally be a play. Could totally be a fucking play they fucking wrote and then adapted into this, because it's very, 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 very low key in. Just there's really no action. It's just conversation, and it's almost like Tarantino in a way, and how like the action is the conversation.
Well, there is action, but it's theater of the mind, is what it is. Because everyone paints a picture. All 5 of them do when they talk. Yeah, it's this one has a fucking turn, because when you find out that the Englishman and the Irishman are fucking bounty hunters and they start talking about it like you or I would talk about like working at the theater or something when we were working at a movie theater together. Like it's just like, what the fuck? And in that moment, that's when the camera angles change. That's when the Englishman goes back and forth between some sort of like Lovecraftian protagonist. Like, it's very strange. In all the best ways.
Yeah.
And
again,
Brendan Gleeson's just indifference to everything that is happening.
And he's just so gleeful at the same time. It's creepy.
So gleeful.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah, it was terrible.
What they are mostly talking about here is just these very Tarantino-esque kind of just conversations filled with, clashing ideology. Like the stuff where the Frenchman is talking about Tyne Daly's husband, about how, like his definition of love might be very different from yours.
His monologue about the definition of love is the most French monologue I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Through high school, I took French 1, 2, and 3, and when you take a class, you don't just study the language, you study the culture and everything, and you read stuff that comes from the culture, and you watch stuff that comes from the culture, and you study their history, and it's just like, that is the most French thing I have ever heard in my life as he was talking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
and his delivery
we really
was amazing on everything.
Yeah, the performances in this are fantastic. I really like the extended monologue that the trapper almost puts them all to sleep with. That's very funny. He just doesn't stop fucking talking.
And I just
for like
love
a
how
minute
every
and a half.
time he chimes in, it's just like he just grinds everything to a halt.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? This segment almost reminds me of Clue. They're just very matter of fact and awkward exchanges of dialogue, while also like not being awkward is very Clue. I just thought of that.
I can see that.
In a way that I love, because I love Clue, and it's like the way that they speak back and forth is fascinating, and and we really can't do this one justice. You just have to listen to them because it's very specific in the way that they're talking, and the most iconic monologue from it you would refer to is the Englishman talking about how he and Brendan Gleeson are both bounty hunters, and how John Joe O'Neill, the Englishman, his favorite thing is watching their eyes as they're trying to make sense of things as they're killing them.
The negotiate
is
the passage.
So good. It's so good. And what's really, really interesting too is so they eventually get to the end of the coach ride. They exit to a little hotel type building, and Brendan Gleeson and John Joe O'Neill get out, and they take their prize with them, like the bounty hunter body that they strapped to the top of the fucking wagon the entire ride. They start carrying it up the stairs into a blinding white light. So it adds, and there's also very, very weird changes to the weather around them. And there's a lot of symbology behind the coachman not stopping, almost like so there's a read on this where you think the Englishman and the Irishman are, just talking about they're all dead. Even everyone's dead.
That's true.
Because there's a read on this, and one of the hints towards this is how the lady is talking about her husband.
So wait, does that mean he's not Gascoigne, but he's Charon?
It's almost like a River Styx type situation.
Yeah, because Charon, I believe, is kind of portrayed a little bit like that, the way he's dressed. Because there are many hints to this. My read of it is everyone's dead, including the bounty hunters. And what's interesting is it adds dramatic irony to what the Englishman is talking about, how his most favorite thing is looking into their eyes as they're trying to make sense of things. But the thing is, they're both dead, and they haven't really come to grips with what they're doing either, because they don't realize yet that they're dead. And another hint to it is one of the strongest hints to this is how the lady consistently is correcting herself on present tense and past tense of her husband. She consistently corrects herself to saying he was. Right. And she is saying she is going to meet him, as in he's dead. And she's passing on. And it's almost funny in how the bounty hunters are constantly talking about how they're so gleeful, and they're not panicked because they're even more out of their element than, because the Frenchman, the trapper and the lady are all kind of panicky as they're approaching the hotel. And they have like a sense about them. They're kind of like they're disturbed by the situation in a way that the bounty hunters are not. So the people who are most, even despite the way they're talking, that are most out of the know are the bounty hunters. Well, because they're literally taking a body up the stairs into a blinding white light, almost like they're it's like heaven. Yeah, there's a lot of symbology here that they don't talk about. Or something in between, which would be why it's a hotel.
Yeah.
So, but don't they specifically refer to themselves as Reapers, and then they're corrected as bounty hunters by one of the other people?
That's the thing. You don't really know, because they consider themselves a Reaper of Souls. They say they're like a bounty hunter. They consider themselves like a Reaper of Souls. So you don't know, are they in on it? Are they not in on it? And just don't know?
I'm pretty sure the Englishman literally refers themselves as Reapers. So that is very ironic if he's just a bounty hunter that's dead and hasn't figured it out.
See, that's the thing. There's a lot of because it's intentionally vague. You don't know.
And his story, when he talks about like he likes to, and he enjoys the expression in their eyes as they negotiate the passage, try to make sense of it. That's what the three of them across from him are doing with all of this going on in the carriage. They have that same look on their face the entire time. Exactly what he was talking about. It's. I don't know. There's also the what's the symbology? Because I wrote this down also, and I hadn't considered the that they're dead aspect. So, but the symbology with the coachman does not get any luggage down. Nobody has any luggage, and when he drives off, all the luggage is still strapped to the top. The only thing that comes down is the mortal remains. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, my read of this is they are all
didn't the coachman get paid? Don't we see that happen in the background? Someone from the hotel pays the coachman as if he's literally Charon on the River Styx.
It's possible. I can't remember. I would have to fact check it.
I feel like he's like counting coins as he walks past the camera back to the coach.
Yeah. So my read of this is they're definitely the lady, the Frenchman, and the trapper are all definitely dead. And they're passing on, but they don't really know it yet. But the thing that's interesting to me is trying to figure out if the Irishman and the Englishman are Grim Reapers, or if they're also, if it's like a bait and switch almost, like a misdirect. If they're also dead and they just happen to be bounty hunters, because they talk about how the Englishman talks about how he is kind of the distraction, while Brendan Gleeson as the Irishman is the thumper.
Yeah,
that's what you're always refers to him as. You wouldn't really, if they're Grim Reapers, like that, and that almost entails more like real life violence. You know what I mean? Like not like a Grim Reaper like passing them on, almost more like they're literally bounty hunters, and it's just like a misdirect. Like they're bounty hunters that were dead, and this whole conversation about how like you're led to believe it's them talking to them and kind of winking at the audience about how like the three on the other side, like they just haven't come to grips with it yet. But I think they also haven't come to grips with it yet, and I think it's a misdirect. But it's interesting that you don't know.
Well, I mean that plays into his speech, right? Because the audience is also trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
So, it's very intentional. Yeah, they, I don't know, the version that I kind of like is that they're Grim Reapers, because if you think about, like, the way they describe, one is the distraction and one is the thumper. I mean, if you're just staring at your phone and step in the middle of traffic, I mean, was your phone not the distraction and the car that kills you is the thumper? I mean...
Oh, yeah, it's more abstract almost. So that, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, see, that's another thing. This and Meal Ticket are the best because all of this shit we're talking about
is correct.
Is interpretation, and all of it could be wrong, all of it could be bullshit, all of it could be absolutely on the money. You don't know. So if you hadn't thought of it as they're dead, what was your initial read on this without that angle?
Well, I didn't know. I was excited to talk about this with you because you tend to dig into stuff a little bit easier than I do, being, a writer and all. My brain doesn't work that way. So usually I need a few more breadcrumbs than what this was giving me. The only thing that I was getting was it's got such a Lovecraftian vibe, but there's nothing Lovecraftian happening, or like an Edgar Allan Poe type vibe to it, but there's nothing Poe-like happening either. I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know.
It's fast, and like go watch it again. It's even better watching it again.
I'm sure.
Because this is probably the best one. I fucking liked it a lot the first time I watched it. Watching it a second time and paying attention to what could be directing towards the idea that they're all dead. Another thing that hints towards them being Grim Reapers is the fact that the Englishman knows the coachman never stops.
Yes.
And that's even the tagline on the painting as they're leading in to the story. Is, like they say like no matter what, the coachman wouldn't stop along those lines. I'm paraphrasing it, but it's a line about the coachman not stopping. So that is very important, or they wouldn't have the tagline about it. So yeah, it's fascinating. Definitely go watch it again with the angle of at least the 3 they're talking to are all dead, and it becomes even more fucking fascinating because you just don't fucking know, and it's just an awesome story. It's like this idea and this story, The Mortal Remains, is why I love short stories so much.
I just feel like
it's just
I can't
an
tell.
abstract idea.
Yeah, I can't tell if the Englishman is just kind of a prick that's dead and doesn't know it, or because the way he talks, it's like he's in on a secret that no one else is. And then our Thumper friend is just so indifferent about everything. He's just staring out the window most of the time. And it's just like, I don't know, the way the Englishman talks, it's just like he's in on something. You know what I mean? Like he knows something that he's just not telling everyone else. And like you said, he knows the coachman won't stop. And he's like toying with them. It's like a cat that caught a mouse, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, is that could also, in its own right, be part of a misdirect.
Yeah.
Because if the person, they're so confident in them, ostensibly knowing it, everything, that type of personality would also be very easily distracted in their own right, and not because they're overly it's like a Achilles heel type of thing. Like they're so overly confident that they think they know, but they just don't. Right. Like they think they know more than they actually do. And I don't know. I need to go watch it again actually, because I still don't fucking know. I've watched it twice, and I still just don't really know what I think about it. But I know my interpretation. At least 3 of them are dead, and it's a passage because why else would they be having them carry the body up to a blinding white light up the staircase? That's because it's just so overtly over the top. Yeah, that's just my interpretation of it, though. I'm sure this would be an interesting one that should go look up Reddit threads about. Mm-hmm. I would like to see people's
YouTube
very
essays.
Very yeah, I would like to see people's interpretation of the story, because then you can carry it ways that that we're not even we've presented a lot of ideas, but it's so abstract. There's a lot more you can draw from this, and all of it could be right and all of it could be wrong because none of it's confirmed, and it's a concept more than a story, which makes it interesting and incredibly interesting to revisit. So I would definitely like to go watch this again and watch some more, like you said, either YouTube essays or just read up on it, kind of see people's takes on it, because it's very interesting. I think Meal Ticket is still my favorite, but The Mortal Remains is really close.
The Mortal Remains is very close.
So after talking about all of them, is Near Algodonia still your favorite one?
It's still my favorite one, but I will admit that it's probably third best.
Okay.
But it's still my favorite one just because I like the tone. I like Root. I like fucking Franco. I like everything that happens in that, and I still feel like it's just as dark almost as everything besides Meal Ticket, but it's got a lighter tone to it, and I almost feel like Meal Ticket was the third one, right? And it was the second one. I almost feel like, realistically, I was joking with the other ones earlier about putting Buster Scruggs. I almost feel like Meal Ticket should have been second, and this one should have been third to lighten it up a little bit more. But yeah, or move those both down. Put them in that order, but move them both down. But
I bet they also internally debated a lot about the order of this. I bet the Coen brothers spent weeks discussing.
And I bet they're still not happy with it because they're such perfectionists.
I was about to say, I bet they would watch it now on Netflix and be like, why didn't we fucking arrange it this way? Yeah. And they'd be like, you're fucking right. That was the right. Because, there's a million different combinations you can go with this.
Yeah. And I would say, though, I think Meal Ticket is probably the best written. And the performances in this movie across the board are phenomenal. But when you combine that but just the gravity of what's going on in Meal Ticket, along with the way it's written and the way it's shot and the way it's portrayed and the subtext. Meal Ticket, I think, just has to be the best one of the bunch. This one, Mortal Remains, just because of the intrigue and the mystery, and it's the type of shit that I love. I mean, it's like the most Bloodborne one without the Bloodborne.
Yeah.
It's even got Gascoigne in it.
The only thing I dislike about the Mortal Remains is I'm fucking pissed at myself for not writing it first.
Right?
Because this feels like something I would write, and the fact that I didn't, they beat me to it. I'm like, you fuckers. I hate you.
Yeah,
but I also love you because this story's amazing.
The only thing that I can't figure out is if that's the case, the body has to represent something, the body they're toting around.
See, here's the thing, too, is I was thinking about that while watching this the second time, too. I think the reason the body
unless he's literally
is
just
the
fucking
body,
with them.
See, they could be fucking with them. Or the reason the body is a body is because the body, the person who is the body actually knows what's happening and came to grips with it, and they're passing on ostensibly to heaven because they're going up in the blinding white light.
Okay.
The people who enter the hotel are the people who are confused and don't quite know what's happening. They're entering kind of like a purgatory state because they don't know yet.
Right.
So it's more of like an influx.
They haven't come to terms with their own death yet.
They haven't come to terms with their own death, so they're entering the hotel instead of entering heaven or, like the other place. The bounty hunters, if they are Grim Reapers, they have a bad place. Yeah, they have to. So yeah, again,
that would make sense.
Fucking love that story, dude.
I guess probably be the more accurate way to say it. Yeah,
absolutely love that story.
I think
I love talking about it too.
I
just
know.
like rumbling off interpretations is always fun for vague concepts like that to me.
The Mortal Remains, I think, just for technical points alone, because it's literally just 5 strangers on a car ride, on a car trip to you don't know where, on a single road, southbound, if you will, on an unnamed highway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just conversation. It's like Kevin Smith got really depressed and just had like the saddest clerks you've ever seen.
The sad clerk.
Yeah, sad clerks.
Oh man.
And yeah, it's just a conversation. But it's the one that dug its hooks into me the most. I mean, the theming helps. Like I said, the theming helps. But it dug its hooks into me the most because it's just like, what is happening? Who are these characters? Why is what? Well, there's Gascoigne also. And yeah, I just...
It was so... What made me actually pick this movie was us having watched Southbound and our conversations about like the different interpretations of stuff and the way that this ends with Mortal Remains. Because Mortal Remains is pure Geoff and Ron catnip.
Mm-hmm.
Like to a T. We could have had an entire additional podcast of us just discussing like extrapolations from Mortal Remains. It's just awesome. So overall, did you end up... Because here's the thing, too. Another reason I like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs overall is a lot of anthologies, you're lucky if like one of them is really good and another story is like kind of good. I think this has, it has a couple low points, but I think it has a lot of high points for an anthology. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here across multiple stories and not just, like one highlight like a lot of anthologies are.
Just in an effort to make sure that Bobby is good and dead at this point. You made a reference to Dark Souls 2 earlier, and I think that is what the low points are in this. You and I have said many times that several video game companies wish that their best game was as good as Dark Souls 2, when it is almost unanimously considered to be the weakest of the Souls series, because it's still a great game. It's just, compared to Dark Souls 1 or the gameplay of Dark Souls 3, it's just not as good by comparison. It's still a great game. And
there's a difference between being bad and being bad by association.
Exactly.
And then that's what, and then that's just like
the weak points that we've talked about. Like I said, even the one I didn't like, was it the girl that got rattled? Like, I mean, it's still shot well. It's still acted well. You know, my problem
The shootout's cool.
My problem,
the shootout at the end is cool.
Yeah, the action's good. It's choreographed well. My problems are just the writing and the pacing, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just to me. And I already forgot the name of the prospector one.
All Gold Canyon.
All Gold Canyon. It's good on its own. I just feel like it's a weird fit for all the other theming happening in the movie, but it's still good, and it's acted well, it's shot well, it's written well, all that stuff. So even the low points of this, they're only low because it's got Meal Ticket and Mortal Remains and Buster Scruggs, and that's the only reason it's low. Buster Scruggs,
Pan Shot.
Buster Scruggs is only in my list of the good ones because of how fucking weird and ballsy it is. It has the balls to be so weird.
The Clancy Brown thing,
and that
makes it one of mankind's great. It's like penicillin and Clancy Brown shot in this. It's like those are the two greatest gifts that mankind has ever given to themselves.
And wow, that's got to be the most Clancy Brown thing I've ever seen. Now that I think about it, because that man loves doing himself some weird shit. Sometimes, you know, like sometimes I feel like he's paying the mortgage. Not saying that and like he's bad in what he's in. He's never bad in anything, but some of the stuff he picks is just kind of run of the mill, like when he was the general in The Flash that's just wanting the Flash, or shit like this. Like he's only got those two speeds, high and low.
I think he just likes to work too. I think he's kind of like I think he's kind of like Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
In that way, where he just genuinely likes acting, and he'll say yes to just about everything, but he'll give it his all every time, and you gotta love him for it. So I think that's going to be a wrap on any other.
I think it has to be a wrap at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I knew this was going to be a long show, but it's been fun as fuck. And at the end of the day, I don't give a shit. It was fun to talk about.
It was.
I could go on for another 30 minutes of just fucking Mortal Remains, dude. I'm going to watch a fucking YouTube video.
We stop recording.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to watch a YouTube essay of somebody making like a really, really like awesome interpretation of that. I'll be like,
if you find a good one, send it to me.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm going to find someone who has like a near perfect interpretation of it, of like an angle I didn't think about, and it's gonna make me like this movie even more, that it has all this potential of just like layering up all of these ideas, all these concepts.
I feel like the piece of evidence, or at least some of the strongest evidence, I think, is the coachman himself, because I am almost positive that he's like the first one into the hotel. And then as they're getting out of the hotel doing whatever, he passes by the camera, and the camera's fixed on the Englishman and the Irishman when it happens, dragging the body. But he literally passes in the bottom left corner of the screen in front of the camera, and I'm pretty sure he's like counting coins like you would be paying Charon to ferry you down the river. I literally feel like they don't show him. He's looking at something in his hand. He's holding something he's messing with in his other hand. And I feel like you hear like a jingling sound effect, like coins or something metallic. Like he's going through a coin purse or counting the coins that are in his hand, because he just ferried these people down here to their hotel purgatory.
Yeah.
Their Hotel California, where you check in, you don't check out.
Exactly. If we didn't talk about it specifically, they never show his face.
Never.
He's always just a shadowy figure.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I love that story so much. It's so good.
Now I'm just imagining Bill Murray leaning forward in an elevator trying to see Death's face under the hood. I assume you've seen Scrooged. Have you seen Scrooged?
I think I watched it when I was very young, where I have definitely seen it, but I don't remember a whole lot of it. So I need to watch it again.
Put that on the list for our Christmas picks, I think.
So real quick, in a second, I'm going to let Ron reveal what the next movie is going to be, but just real quickly, if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter at SPR Filmcast. Follow us there for show updates. As we alluded to earlier, we are branching out to have opening Q&A segments with listeners at the beginning of the show. Just email us any prompts about like film, TV, whatever. We'll talk about just about anything. As you can tell from this 2.5 hour podcast. Yeah. We will talk about anything for a long time if you put us in front of microphones. And that's, again, email us screenplayrewind@gmail.com. Ron, what is the next film for Screenplay Rewind?
Well, as we discussed before we turn the microphones on, Jeff, our next picks are going into the Halloween month.
My favorite time of the year.
This is a movie that I introduced Jeff to, so it is one you've already seen, Jeff, but it's one I want to talk about. And I was so happy you enjoyed it as much as I did when I showed it to you, because I literally watched it, and like the following weekend I showed it to you. Because I was so excited about it. It's a Netflix original, so it's on Netflix. At least I believe it's a Netflix original. It's definitely on Netflix. But I want to talk about The Ritual next time.
Yes.
So good. So good.
Fucking choice, my dude. That's another one.
It's so good.
Has a scene up there with the Clancy Brown suicide from Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and Ron knows exactly what scene I'm talking about because it is a masterpiece.
Yes, it is. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, great fucking choice. I really, really like that movie. So yeah, be sure to watch that on Netflix. I believe it is an original there, where they probably didn't, produce it, but they definitely like acquired it.
Yeah, I think they bought it probably.
Yeah,
it's got too much production value.
Welcome to Netflix greenlit.
Oh, South Park.
Oh god. Is South Park references another like SPR bingo / drinking game thing? We make a lot of South Park. I mean, how many times did we say James Cameron last time?
I don't know how we're ever gonna get through fucking Terminator when we start that franchise.
Oh man.
It's just we're just gonna be playing that song on loop for an hour, and that's the entire podcast. Might just edit it into the background as we're doing the review,
with an occasional do.
James Cameron. I want to pay someone to do a James Cameron South Park song remix set to the do. I want it all meshed together.
Yeah. What was the other thing that we were wanting someone to do? Earlier, there was something we wanted someone with talent to commission. I remember making a joke about earlier, but I don't remember what the thing was. But it's lost to eternity.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's lost in the Hotel California.
If only we had recorded it and put it somewhere.
I mean, I'm not gonna listen to this shit. I'm gonna edit it, but I'm not gonna listen to it. Fuck that.
I edit my audio visually, like the pros.
If I did it correctly, it was like I did nothing at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's gonna be a wrap.
Bingo.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.